This meeting is being recorded.
Good morning, everybody. Today we're here to talk about branding, which is probably my favorite topic. And as I mentioned a few minutes ago, it's really fun, but it's also really serious. And it's one of those things where I want you to have fun, but I want you to take it very seriously and apply it once you know what your branding is going to be. So let's get this party started. As you know by now, my name is Laura Wygott, and I'm the Creative Director for Mana Means Communications in downtown Honolulu. Branding, I'm sure most of you have a general idea of what it is. It's the marketing practice of creating a name or symbol, a design that identifies and differentiates your product or service from other providers. At the same time, it reflects your company's personality and values. So some very well-known examples of branding are Coca-Cola. You could write something in a completely different outside of the words Coca-Cola in that script, and you would know what they're referring to. Microsoft, every time they have a new product come out or service, you see those same squares, those same colors over and over again. Mercedes-Benz, you could spot that logo anywhere. Amazon, you see the smile sitting on your porch and you know what's about to happen. So these are very, very famous examples of branding, partly because they do it so well. So let's have a little pop quiz. Get ready to open up your chat or unmute, please. So can anybody guess the brand in number one? Oh, I forgot we're in Hawaii. You might not get this furniture here, but that's IKEA.
Oh, IKEA, yeah.
Yeah. What about number two? Can any of you guess any of these?
Is 10 Microsoft?
It is. Good job. Let's just skip to the answers. So I guess they're not doing the best job with their colors. So number one is IKEA. Number two is Starbucks. Number three, McDonald's. I know you guys knew that one.
I thought it was Hawaiian Sun.
Smart. Number four is Tiffany, and we're going to talk about that again later. And number five is Cadbury. And now we get into, you probably wouldn't have known this because I didn't, because this is obviously done in England. But number six is Harrods, which also shows you how branding can be very localized, and why some people think they see their own coloring. Number seven is Facebook. I know you guys know that color. And then Safeway, number eight, British Petroleum, and number nine, and then Google, which was Guess. Good job. So there are a few very basic elements of branding that we go through when you're starting a company, you're developing your logo, or you're thinking how you're going to market yourself. Every time I have a new client that wants to do rebranding or starting their branding to begin with, this is the basic checklist I take them through. So the first and most important one is your tone. So the tone of voice in your branding is unique, and it's used to communicate your values to your target audience. And you do this through words, personality, and emotion. Off to the right here, you'll see this is a spectrum of brand personality traits. So without going into gender politics, something could be seen on one end of the spectrum as feminine versus masculine, playful versus serious, luxurious versus affordable, modern versus classic, youthful versus mature, and loud versus subdued. So when you think about your company and what you want your marketing, your tone to be, I highly recommend that you look at this spectrum and determine where you fall in all of these. Some of them you may not even factor into what you're doing. You know, Hawaiian Sun, you're not going to be marketing to women versus men. But if you are selling lotions, perhaps you will be targeting to one more than the other. So the first thing you want to do is determine what your tone is. Honestly, most of the time it comes down to playful versus professional. That seems to be the spectrum that people most focus or most polarized on. They're either one or the other. With all the other spectrums, it seems to go back and forth. So some examples of tone. I'm pretty sure I brought up Old Spice in a class recently because I think their tone and their branding is genius. So smell like a man, and there he is being very manly. And what I love about it is that they're kind of poking fun at what is stereotypically masculine, but they're still pitching this to men. So it's masculine, but it's also very funny. So I love the Old Spice ads. I'm always excited when a new one comes out. To the right, we've got Harley Davidson, strong and confident. Hashtag live your legend, right? There's no pink probably in Harley Davidson ads, although if there is, I'd be thrilled. So that's their brand, and I'm sure you know that they're independent and rebels. So Harley Davidson has a very consistent tone. Bottom left, I didn't put the name in there, but that's Coca-Cola. And this one's from my own childhood when they sat on a mountaintop and sang, "I'd like to teach the world to sing." And Coca-Cola is always positive and friendly and upbeat. And so you know where they fall on those spectrums. And then bottom right, this is MailChimp. And I don't know if any of you have ever used MailChimp, but they do have custom illustrations, cartoons that they use. I think the last couple times I sent out a email blast that they're not using these cartoons anymore, which breaks my heart, because that guy, the little monkey, the chimp with the red button, like that's what would pop up before you're getting ready to send. And if you've ever sent out an e-blast, it's a little nerve-wracking, even if you wrote it, even if you're confident with it, because you hit that button and it's out there, and then 5 seconds later you discover an error. So it's always a little nerve-wracking. And I just love that they have the nervous chimp, and then they give you a little high five when you're done. So they do really, they're not quite as silly as they used to be, but they're still lighthearted, and everything in their tone is clear and helpful and funny. So part of your tone is determining what kind of feelings you want to convey. So this is a very complex chart that was created in, I think it was the 80s. And it's called a wheel of emotions. And you may not think on this level, but basically what the psychologists determine is that there are 4 basic emotions, starting at the top: ecstasy, admiration, terror, amazement, grief, loathing, rage, and vigilance. And you're probably not going to be thinking, ooh, how can I use rage in my marketing? Although there might be somebody that would. Maybe you're marketing for a nonprofit that is anti-war or maybe MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and their rage could come into to play. But if you back out of the circle a little bit, these are probably the types of feelings that you want to evoke in your tone: joy, trust, fear. And yes, sometimes fear is part of what you're marketing. If you are selling insurance or a security alarm, that's a legit approach. Not my favorite, but that's because I have my own personality. Surprise, sadness, disgust, anger, and anticipation. And you want to think about the type of feelings that you want to evoke in your customers or potential customers. So for instance, we have a client that is a medical office. So they want their clients to feel like they're professional and trustworthy, but they also want them to feel warm and welcomed and cared for. So they are going to be looking for something like serenity, or what do we have here? Admiration and trust and acceptance. These are all feelings that client should be thinking about as they market themselves. We don't need to go into the very outer circle, but I just want to tell you how this chart works, just if you're interested in psychology. But so if you look at the word serenity, you see to the left is optimism, misspelled, and to the right is love. And the idea is that by evoking optimism and love, you create serenity. And so that's how the wheel is set up, so that the feelings that are flanking the one feeling is the way to produce that product. So it's very interesting. Or at least I think it is. I keep having to move my, there we go, okay. So when you are writing for marketing, you're going to be using words that will evoke all those feelings that we just discussed. And this is a massive list of what they call power words. And at first glance, you might think, I don't know that I'll ever need this. But trust me, when you sit down to start writing and you are trying to figure out, oh, what's another way to say simple? I rely on thesaurus.com all the way, but I also like to refer to this list of words because it makes it really easy to at least get a jump start for the kind of writing that you're doing for whatever piece you're working on. All right, so another element of branding are taglines. And I'm sure most of you have heard of some of these. Can you hear me now? Melts in your mouth, not in your hands. A diamond is forever. And by the way, that was the most genius marketing strategy ever created, was by De Beers, who mined diamonds. And when they were trying to figure out a way to get more people to buy more diamonds, they created this whole notion that an engagement ring should be diamond. Before De Beers and their marketing program on this, women wore emeralds or rubies or sapphires, anything. You know, they inherited things that were family pieces, but diamonds were just not a thing until De Beers decided that it meant a perfect marriage that would last forever, eternally. A diamond is forever. And as you now know, like that's just, it's just considered assumed that your engagement ring should have a diamond, and that the poor person proposing should have to cough up, was it 3 months worth of salary for that? So, and all of this is based on De Beers and a marketing program. Google it sometime, it's an interesting story. Another one, tastes so good, cats ask for it by name, Meow Mix. There are some things money can't buy, for everything else there's MasterCard. So you're all familiar with what a tagline is. But let's do another pop quiz, which went so well the first time. Okay, so you can unmute. Who says eat fresh?
Subway.
Yay, good job. Just do it.
Nike.
Good job. The taglines you know better than the colors. Think different. Ooh, we have a lot of PC users here. Apple.
Oh,
It always drove me crazy because I think it should be think differently. But I guess that was different. Because you're worth it, ladies. L'Oreal. That might be a little dated. Everybody knows this one. It's finger looking good.
KFC.
Yeah, you got it. So if you're going to consider doing a tagline, here are some basic guidelines, all right? So like Nike, keep it simple, just do it. How much simpler does it get than that? So that's why it's genius. And we all said it before it was a Nike tagline, and now we use it even more, and we know what it means. And most of their ads these days just say, just do it, and nothing else. They might have a celebrity athlete or something else, a beautiful imagery, but they rarely go beyond this. So genius on their side because they don't have to think very hard. Apple. Okay, so even though we didn't recognize it, so the idea is to have a tagline that will give it meaning. So when Apple came up with this tagline, they were trying to separate themselves from the PC, and they were introducing a product that would be more intuitive and more beautiful. And so that's the meaning that their tagline gives it. And then also you want to make it clear. Toyota, let's go places. That's as clear as it gets. You know what you're going to do in a car. You're going to go places. Also, your tagline should be positive and memorable. Another way to look at a tagline is to focus on the benefits. Dollar Shave Club, shave time, shave money. Very clever. I don't know about the rest of you, but I love a good dad joke. Even if you're groaning, it's memorable. So this way they were funny, so you get an idea of their tone, but in their tagline, they're also telling you what they do. And on that spectrum, so are they professional or humorous? Obviously, they're going with a little funny. And when we talked about whether they're going to be a luxury product or affordable, obviously they're going with affordable because right there in their tagline, focus on benefits. Another tip that you can use for taglines is to include your business end goal. Disneyland came up with the tagline of the happiest place on earth when they started. And this is long before Disneyland. Some people might argue maybe it's not the happiest place on earth, but when they put that up there, that was an aspiration and not actually what they were yet. So sometimes, you know, if you're thinking them positively, maybe setting your goal is a way to achieve it. Finally, when it comes to taglines, it's good to remember that you can always change it. So here is Coca-Cola's history of taglines. I'm sure there's a few missing in here. When they started, they were delicious and refreshing. And you can see by 1905, revives and sustains. That's probably because it was full of cocaine. And then 1906, we've got prohibition. So now they pivot and Coca-Cola becomes the wonderful thing to drink now that you're not allowed alcohol. Good to the last drop, which when I was growing up was a coffee tagline for a different company. 3 million a day, thirst no season, da 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 da. Look at all the way down 1938. Look how many changes there are just between 1886 and 1938. And that doesn't even take us into the taglines we know today. Okay, great. So now we're going to move on to the next element of branding, which are fonts. So here, I love this. I found this, it came across me on Facebook one day. I will always find you, or I will always find you. And it's the same words, and the font gives you all the difference. And I'm sure that you know that if you were going to heart surgeon, you might not want a silly, Comic Sans font or something like that. So choosing a font is very important. And sometimes when I sit down with a client to start about designing a logo, they don't know, they don't care. And other times people are already really into it. I have a client right now I'm working with who never learned cursive writing, but she really admires the way it looks. And so we're looking for really beautiful scripts because that gives her joy. And it's important that you love the branding for your own company. So learning about fonts is a smart idea. So fonts fall into two different categories. The first category are serif fonts. So if you look at the fonts that I've used in this slide, so look at the word serif fonts. You see how the S has those little bits and the R has a little bit and the little I, you see the little lines and a little extra dot and that sort of thing. Those are what are known as serifs. And there's some discussion as to what the word serif actually means, although generally it's agreed that it's an old Dutch word for stroke. So serif fonts are typefaces with those extra strokes on the end of their letter forms. When you use a serif font, it lends history and tradition and honesty and integrity. So a lot of the clients that I work for that use serif fonts are attorneys and physicians, an insurance company. They want to be taken very seriously. So a serif font is the way that they're inclined to go. But within that category, there are different kinds of serif fonts. So the first one here is called a wedge serif, and you can see that its little strokes are a little thicker and a wedge, right? So if you think about the wedge heel on a shoe, it lifts it, and the strokes are a little thicker than on other serif fonts. Look over to the right, the next one, that's a slab serif, and so even bigger than a wedge is a slab, and you can just see how thick the strokes are. Look at that, the bottom of the little lowercase r and the n and the d and the n, right? Those are all very thick, very powerful. I love a good slab serif for logos, and also for use on websites or in ads when you want, especially social media. Like, let's say you're doing a very small ad and you really need that text to be readable on somebody's teeny tiny little phone. So slab serifs are really good for that. Clarendon is one of my favorites. Bottom left is a rounded serif, Cooper. It's a beautiful font, but now you can see that the strokes are all rounded a little bit. So now, even though it's a serif, it's not quite as professional and historic as some of the other ones. So it could be that you like the mix. So to me, this has a little bit of a feeling of both a serif and non-serif font, which we'll get to soon. And then finally, there's what's called a hairline serif, Bodoni. I think it's such a beautiful font. And now if you look at those little strokes, they're very, very thin as opposed to the other serif fonts. The other type category for fonts is called a sans serif font. Sans is the word for French for without. So it means fonts that do not have all those strokes. And sans serif fonts are casual and clean and readable and web friendly. So these sans serif fonts are the best to use on your website. But it's not like I only use sans serif fonts in web design. Sometimes I'd like to have a mix. Sometimes I'll have the titles be sans serif, but then the actual text is serif, or you can flip it around. So there are no rules that you have to stick to one or the other. Some people don't like the mix because it seems confusing and they want the consistency of a single font, but this is totally up to you. And as a designer, I'm not telling you that there's a rule for that at all. Actually, when I was raising my son, I told him there's no rules at all in art. So there might be some in marketing, but when it comes to fonts, that's your call. All right, and so now we're going to look at types of sans serif fonts. So top left is what's called a square sans serif, lemon milk. You could probably even just figure this out for yourself why it's called square. Very crisp, very bold, right angles on all the edges. You can see how pointy that the capital A is. So that would be a square sans serif font. To the right is humanist sans serif, and this is the font Bodoni. I love this one as well. I think it's very clean. I love a good clean font that's not too thin. So Bodoni makes me very happy with that. Bottom left, these are the family of fonts called a grotesque sans serif. Grotesque doesn't mean ugly or horrible. It just simply means large. So you can see, if you look at the lowercase k, how high that the K is coming up. So this is, again, I think I'm showing my preference. I like a good thick font. But one of the things I love about Franklin Gothic, and there are lots of families of fonts, I love picking a font that has a wide range of varieties. So for instance, I like, extra light. It's like you can barely read it. It's so thin, and that can look really beautiful when you contrast it with some of the other varieties of that same font. So I love Montserrat is one of my favorites because it's Google friendly and you can have the very, very thinnest extra light all the way up to extra black. And that way you can be mixing fonts up in your writing or your marketing, but they still have a great compatibility because they're all within the same family. One thing that I see a lot of, especially in email marketing, is people just will have a block of text. And that can be really boring and it doesn't pull somebody in to start reading it. So using a family of fonts and having that variety is a really great way to break up all that boring text. All right. The next element of branding I would like to talk about is color. And this is no surprise to you, but color expresses your key values and personality traits. And the colors you choose are really important. You're going to use them in your logo, on your website. If you have a store, you might have signs in your store above the front door, staff uniforms, and you're going to be using it in your social media and ads. Something that I would like to continue to underscore is the idea of being consistent. So even in your social media, if you could use the same fonts when you're doing your graphics, you have no control over the font that you're using in the actual posts, but in your designs, you have a lot of control. And by consistently using the same fonts and the same colors over and over again, people start to recognize that it's your brand. The colors have meanings. So you want to think very carefully about the colors you want to choose for your branding, starting with red, which signifies passion and excitement and anger. It can also signify importance and commands attention. Look at a stop sign. That is definitely grabbing your attention. But it could also mean something passionate and love. We all know around Valentine's Day what red is used for. You'll see a lot of red in perfume ads. There'll be, red velvet and, smoky red and that kind of thing to convey passion and excitement. Orange is playful and vital and friendly, and it's invigorating and evokes energy. Hawaiian sun, I'm looking at you. I know you got lots of orange and for good reason. It's a citrus and that's bright and refreshing. So you could use some rust oranges, which wouldn't be quite as playful. I like to think about the fact that we're in Hawaii, and a rusty orange could be the beautiful rust of kapa cloth. So if you're using any kind of native Hawaiian themes, a rust orange, you wouldn't consider it playful, but I would like to use it here in the islands because it is a nice earthy tone that we're used to. Yellow, very much like orange, it's happy and youthful and optimistic. It grabs attention and is often seen as affordable. So if you see a lot of going out of business sales or grand opening or any kind of sale, you're going to see a lot of red because they want you to be excited about the sale. And then the yellow, which does grab your attention and it often indicates a sale. You'll see a lot of red and yellow and black and white used in attention grabbing graphics. Green is stable. It can represent prosperity. Just look at our money. Also growth. You can see, the sapling of a tree and everything that grows on this beautiful planet starts out green. So green definitely has a connection to nature. If you're selling something that's natural or organic or sustainable, then green would be a good choice for you. Again, we're in Hawaii and green is the aina and it's the beautiful land that we live on. So a lot of Hawaiian businesses use green in their branding for good reason. It's where we live. We live on green islands and we're surrounded by, next color, blue. A light blue is tranquil and trustful, and it's open. So you can see a lot of light blue in Hawaiian companies. I see a lot of beach kind of marketing, so there might, or branding. So you might have a pale blue with a pale sand and white, because that's the beach, right? We've got the sand, the beige for the sand, and then the light blue and the white, you know, of the surf coming in. But light blue can also signify innocence. Getting back to the gender topic, we've got, you know, a baby boy, but it could be anything childlike, could be light blue. Also, I've seen a lot of light blue in weddings for the same reason. It's fresh and sweet and innocent. Then that takes us into dark blue. Now, dark blue is seen as professional and solid, and it evokes security and formality, and it's considered mature and trustworthy. And just saying this makes me fix my posture. Dark blue, you know, police officers, right? A lot of banking companies use dark blue. So if you want to have something that's solid and serious, dark blue might be your choice. Of course, if you're using light blue, you might also be using dark blue to offset the lightness of the dark blue. Purple, the Cadbury color that nobody recognized. So purple, you probably know this, or maybe you don't, has long been considered a royal color, because way back in time, before we had manufactured dyes, there was just one particular shell that could produce purple dye. And because it was so rare and so precious, it was only saved for use by royalty. But to this day, we still associate royalty with purple. Hallmark cards, their crown is a purple crown. Purple is also creative, and it can indicate luxury, but it can also be playful and childlike. You'll see a lot of purple matched with pink. Lots of girl products, quote unquote girl products, are pink and purple. But it was also Prince, who now has his own Pantone color. So purple is a wide range of meanings, but probably not serious. Pink. Okay, back to the genders. Feminine, youthful, and innocent. And the pink can range from modern to luxurious. So a luxurious version of pink would be like the pink that I've used in this slide, where it's low key and delicate. But you can go all the way up to hot pink. I love hot pink. I love hot pink and green together. I love clothing from India. So I love seeing the combinations of colors they do in India, and pink, hot pink, and like a lime green are gorgeous together. And I see a lot of that there. And a hot pink would be more of a modern color if you want to use that. Here in Hawaii, pink could be hibiscus, or you know, any of the flowers that grow here. So if you're bringing in flowers for your branding, then pink is an option. Brown is seen as rugged and earthy and warm and simple, and it can range from affordable to high end. So on the affordable side, you can think about a brown lunch bag. That's as basic as it gets, you know, craft paper. And there's something about that it's affordable, and you know that the company isn't spending their budget on beautiful packaging. They're passing along that savings to you by using just, you know, plain brown wrapper. But on the other end of brown, you can have something like mahogany, which is rich and gleaming and luxurious. So brown can definitely be a wide range. And here in Hawaii, we've got lots of brown. Again, going back to the kapa cloth and all those beautiful patterns, the cloth itself, the dyes that are used. So if you are going with a native Hawaiian branding, then brown is definitely something to consider. It's so beautiful. I love it. And everything we eat comes out of the soil, which is brown. So yay for brown. Gray. Gray is very neutral and can be subdued, classic, serious, mysterious, or mature. WordPress uses gray in their logo, so they don't want you to be distracted by WordPress itself. They want to be seen as a tool, so that's the color that they go with. Black I wrote in white because I had to choose some kind of background, so I couldn't do black on black, but black is powerful and sophisticated and edgy, and can be very luxurious and have a modern feeling. When it comes to black as a luxury color, you could be using black velvet or obsidian. And obsidian, there we are back in Hawaii, so you can be using lava rock. And then as far as for a modern feeling, using black outlines or black accents or just little bits of black in what you do, kind of bring things up to a more modern feeling. Finally, when it comes to colors, you really need to keep cultural components in mind, especially when we live somewhere where we have such a mix of cultures. If you were living somewhere else in the mainland where it's a more homogeneous population, then you can probably rely on consistently American mainland colors to be kind of universally understood by your audience. But here in the islands, we do not have that luxury. So what the color white could be seen as, you know, a bride gown, a wedding gown, but it could also be seen as death by some other cultures. So you need to think about your audience. And if you are marketing to any particular cultures, you want to get to understand what those colors are. It's not just cultures, but general behavior. Like, would you wear a red dress to a funeral? Maybe to your worst enemy, or maybe to somebody who asked you to wear a red dress to their funeral, who knows. But you definitely can't just look at a list like this or anything I just told you and take it as a rule. Think about who your customers are and what might be sensitive to them. Okay, so now it's time to actually choose colors for your branding. You have to have at least two basic colors. One is a base color that reflects your brand's personality and appeals to your target audience. But then the accent color has to go well with your base color and still appeal to your target audience. Then finally, if you want to, you can choose a neutral color. And in this case, you see blue and you're probably thinking neutrals, white or beige or black, but it doesn't have to be a white or beige or black. It simply has to be a color that is basic and looks good with the other two. But it's definitely not necessary either. Also, you want to be open to using a variation in hues for different applications. So for instance, the base color and the accent, there's so many different colors in between that aqua and that dark teal that you could use that would still be considered part of your branding. I don't recommend that you mix it up on a regular basis. You want to be using those two base and accent colors often enough that people have come to realize, this is their brand. And then when you mix it up with a little something, which I'll show you in a case of that later, they already know it's you, and they know it's okay to have that a darker aqua or a lighter teal, and it still fits within your branding. It still conveys the feeling that you've been trying to get across. Okay. These are trademark colors, like I mentioned earlier. And anybody know what that blue is?
Tiffany?
You got it. Have it the middle. I know you've all seen this one regularly.
UPS.
Yes. And the last one's tricky, although we might have some crafty people here. Anybody ever pick up a pair of scissors?
Oh, Fiskars.
Yes. So all of these companies have trademarked these colors. So you're probably not going to trade back your color, but you want to make sure that you're not using Tiffany blue or the exact combination of UPS's gold and brown or the Fiskars orange, because it could mean trouble for you. Until I got deep into branding, I didn't even know this was a real thing. So keep that in mind and maybe come up with your own color that should be trademarked. Another aspect of branding could be the use of shapes. So a really obvious one would be a circle. So you can see the 5 circles, that's the Olympics. We all know that's the Olympics. And using those rings, you'll see circles all throughout Olympics branding. Twitter has used the shape of the little birdie tweeting. The Red Cross uses the cross. Xbox also uses a circle. So you can have a branded shape if you want, and you might have a product that lends itself to that. Maybe you make coffee, so you might use the shape of a coffee bean as a shape that you're using in your branding. This you can use in the background on a web page, so you have all your text, but in the background, it doesn't have to be something that's obvious, but you're getting across your branding over and over again in subtle ways, including scale back, like at 10, 15% opacity, there's your shape. And you can use that on your web page. You might use it in layout design. You could use it on your packaging, your business cards, stationery, all kinds of other collateral. So you might want to think about what it is that you make or the service that you offer. I'm struggling to think of what a shape would be for a service, but I could, maybe you're an executive coach. So maybe you have a mountain because people are aspiring to, climb a mountain. Another element that you can use in branding is a consistent pattern. So this is a beautiful line of soaps, and you can see every single time they've changed the color, but they're sticking to a particular type of color. So they probably don't have a style guide that says, oh, Booming Bob soaps are blue and ruby and deep orange and hot pink, but they have agreed that when we use a color, it's always going to be what we call, these are called jewel tones. So if you can imagine how they might look as a gem on a ring, it's not washed out, it's a very rich color. But the thing that they've agreed on is that you use a jewel tone and then you're going to use a pattern, and they're using gold with that pattern. I think that's beautiful. I love gold. I think it, and actually I like all metallics. I think it really lifts the design up. So in this case, the soap company has decided that they're going to use jewel tones and patterns for their branding. So every time you go to buy their soap, it's going to be something different and pretty. Imagery is another aspect of branding. It's not necessarily your product, but you've decided that you're going to stick with a theme. So, and I'm going to probably get into them later. I might even follow it in this slide. Forgive me for not remembering my own order. But this is one of our clients, Impact Wealth Solutions, and their logo is a drop of water. So when we went into branding with them, all we had to work with was their logo, but we're going to stick with the aqua of their logo, and then we developed the dark teal as contrast to the aqua, excuse me. And then water is always the theme. So every month I design their newsletter for them, and I always choose water from Hawaii, and it's always, everything in all of their branding is going to have either aqua, teal, and the water, as you can see here in their newsletter. Oh, good, I did do them all together. So this is an example of extending the branding through other parts of what they do. So these are webinars that they do. So this is for social media. Again, consistently, we're using the aqua and the dark teal, and then you'll see in the background, Okay, in the case of the house, I was pushing a little, there's just a little bit of water, you can't really see it, but the webinar was on home ownership. What am I going to do? Not have a house in it? So all of these are always going to have those colors and the imagery of the water or the beach in the background. They even have an alternative logo called Pauhana with a purpose for their webinars that are a little light and more of a personal nature. So they do financial advice, right? So most of the stuff, their webinars are serious, but then they do something like how to fully optimize yourself for happiness. She's a great presenter. And so again, you'll see consistent branding. These are invitations that I designed for them. And this is what I wanted to show you. The one on the right, you see how I did a gradient with the aqua? So somewhere in there is their aqua, but the dark teal isn't in there. That medium, like in the top left corner, that is not part of their official palette, but I like to mix things up, and I love a good gradient, and it's consistent with their brand, but it doesn't have to be so rigid. It has to be aqua or it has to be teal. By the time I designed this, however, I'd been doing, 6 months worth of only aqua and teal before I felt bold enough to jump in and do something fun like this. The one on the left, again, the aqua and the water. In this case, like I said, I love a good metallic, so it's got a silver border. And I think you can always add metallics to your design and decide whether or not you're using cool tones like blue and green. Then I recommend silver. But if you're using warmer colors like orange and red, brown, then you might want to use gold or bronze or copper. I love them all. And then these are ads that I designed for them. Again, there's the teal, there's the water, and again, consistent. And if you look at their social media, it's all consistently, anything that we're not sharing, which I'll get into in content marketing, is consistently using the same colors over and over and over again. And finally, their social media. There you see the teal, there you see the aqua, there you see water. So again, and I do their social media, and every single thing that I design for them sticks with their branding. So another element of branding is your positioning. So if you're a low price brand that aims to communicate that you're the most economic choice, then you might want to choose bright value communicating colors like yellow and orange, and craft a brand voice that's simple, friendly, and optimistic. In contrast, a higher price brand, then you might want to use, and even my voice must change, darker hues, the mysterious brand voice, and that will position you as a more exclusive option. You'll also notice with positioning in marketing that less is more. They're not going to overwhelm you with, now today, come on down, you'll see you're going to get the best deal, da, 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 and da, da, da. That kind of approach is for the more economic kind of marketing. And then if you're doing a luxury brand, then, think about all those luxurious perfume commercials where half the time I don't even know what's going on, but that's part of the appeal, is to make it mysterious and a little confusing, and it sets you off center a little bit. And a higher price brand might also have a lot of video, and there's nobody speaking. There might be some music in the background, and then one word at the very end. So less is more when it comes to a luxury brand. And in the case of the luxury brands, then you want to use the darker colors. Like, look at this beautiful wine to the right there, very, very dark, the beautiful gold, and again, very simple. But brand positioning isn't just carving out a space in the market. It also involves interaction with other brands, both within the same industry and brands from other industries. And this is where positioning overlaps with brand imagery. The brands you partner with, and that includes your influencers, shape how the world perceives you. Oops, hold on one second. Okay, so another aspect of branding is customer interactions. So how you interact with your customers, whether it's through email, nowadays social media, people will call you out publicly on social media if they're unhappy with something you've done. They'll also let you know when you've done something wonderful. The way that you react to that, and I especially want to point out on Yelp, it's very important that you don't ignore complaints or delete a comment unless it's offensive. You want to show the way that you interact with that person is going to teach all your potential customers what they can expect from you. So if somebody complains, you said, I'm very sorry to hear that you had this experience. This is normally the way we would handle this, and we've reached out to you through direct messaging to satisfy you and make sure that you are a happy customer. So a lot of people are tempted to avoid like bad reviews on Yelp, but ignoring those bad reviews just makes people think that you don't care. If somebody's unhappy and you have not responded, they think you don't care. Why would they bring their business to you? My graphic here is called the Ritz-Carlton's famous $2,000 rule. If you work for Ritz-Carlton as an employee, you are given $2,000 that you can spend without having to ask your supervisor for a customer. So there are stories where a business person has arrived at their hotel room only to figure out that they left their laptop on the airplane, and the person that showed them the room can run out to the local Best Buy and pick up a new laptop as long as it's under $2,000 and fix that person's problem for the day. So that's way up there as far as high level of customer interaction. If you've ever shopped at Nordstrom's, they're also known, Nordstrom, there's no S, they're well known for their great customer service. The first time I shopped there, I bought a pair of stockings. Now, this was a while ago. I'm sure today I'd get an email, but back then I got a handwritten thank you note, like, through regular postal office delivery, saying thank you for my $15 purchase. I doubt they still do this, but there was once a time where at Nordstrom, they would take any kind of return, even if you did not buy them at Nordstrom. So that seems like you'd have to be a pretty successful and large company to be able to do that level of customer service. But the way that you do interact with your customers is an aspect of your branding. So it's really important that you pay attention to it. So to build your branding and messaging strategy, first you have to consider your overall business strategy. I hope that you all have strategic marketing plans in place. If not, I suggest you learn how to do that. I know occasionally HTDC gives strategic marketing workshops. My boss, Janet, happens to teach them. It's good to have a marketing strategy in place because everything that follows is going to be a result of something that you already determined in that strategy. It's very easy to be running your business and see some tactic that somebody else is using and think, oh, wow, that's great. We should do that too. But it's also easy to go off on tangents and get off track, and you're spending time and money and energy on things that aren't really supporting what your overall business strategy is. So make sure you have that in place and use that as a touchstone for your marketing. Keep coming back to it. It doesn't mean that it's stuck in cement. Business has changed, the market's changed, the world changes. Look what happened with the pandemic and how many people lost a business, or they were able to pivot and now they have a new business that they didn't even consider before finding out that they had to do everything online. So it's important to have strategy, but it's also important to be flexible. So when you're building your branding, you want to, as with everything else, identify and research your target clients and your target customers. How do you do that? You should probably know who your competitors are. And if you don't, just start Googling your product or service and see what comes up. And they're probably going to come up way ahead of you because there's companies that are much larger that have a bigger marketing reach. So see what they're doing. You don't want to, well, you don't want to steal, but most importantly, you want to be unique. So it's easy to think, oh, I've come up with this great idea for my logo or for how I'm going to brand myself. And then you just dive right into it, only to find somebody else has been doing it. And then you just look like a copycat. But it doesn't mean you can't borrow ideas. There's an old saying that there's nothing new under the sun, and that is definitely true when it comes to marketing. So if you, and this is going to come up in the content marketing class as well, you have to start paying attention to branding and marketing in general and not just think about your own business. So when you're shopping and a package catches your eye, think about what caught your eye and why it caught your eye. Was it the colors? Was it the pattern? Was it the font? And sometimes it's something that's bringing up some nostalgia in you. I know that I'd like to watch Hulu or regular TV, and a lot of people hate commercials, but I don't, because that's when I get to read my book. And so as soon as the commercial starts, I pick up my book and I start reading. But if somebody's managed to have a commercial running that makes me stop because it caught my attention, then I'm really paying attention. Like, what did they do that was so interesting that dragged me away from my book that I really want to read? Very often it's the music. I love a good dance tune. Sometimes it's silence. And I think my shows come back on. So that's very clever, because I put down my book because I think I'm missing my show. But the point is that I'm always paying attention to anything that's catching my eye. There's an old term for graphic designers we used to call the morgue. Nowadays, you probably know something called Pinterest, which is basically the same function. So I have a Pinterest page where I save things like, let's say I have a client that needs a trifold brochure. I could sit down and start designing a brochure, but why would I just dive into it when I can see how everybody else is doing it? So anytime that I see a design that I think, ooh, I wish I had done that, I wish I could claim that as my design, I save it either on Pinterest. In the old day, when we called it a morgue, you would print it out and actually keep it in a notebook. And then when it comes time to do something, I can dive in and see what were all those ideas I liked. This is the same thing that you can do. Look, when you're on social media yourself and you see an ad that you like, just snap it, save it. Later on, when it comes time for you to design an ad, you can go back and look at all those ads that you saved that you thought were so great and figure out what was it that caught your eye. So then that's as far as researching your competitors. Then you also going to research the industry in general. But now I want to talk about researching your target clients or customers. And how do you do that, right? Because you don't know who they are yet. But you can see who is following your competition. And you can even if you really want to spend the time, and I recommend that you do, is click on the profiles of some of their customers. So you want to see the posts where people are like, oh, I love this. This is the best thing, la, la, la. And yes, some of them are bots, and and by bots in this case, I mean, they've been hired by the company to write posts about the company. So not everything is what you think it is. I'm sure you're all smart enough to realize that about social media. So it's not that you're going to assume that all those customers are real. But even if they're fake, it means that the company has an idea of what their customers are, and they probably know, and they know that they're appealing to their known customers. So poke around on social media and see who's following your competition and who they are. When you go to somebody's profile, you can scan through it. Sometimes there's an about, sometimes they list the person's interests, but you can scroll. We've all done it. You meet somebody, you scroll to see, oh my God, can I let this person into my life, or are they going to drive me nuts? You can see if they're sentimental, if they are political, all kinds of interests, and do they go on vacation? All of this you can see by looking at your competition's existing clients. And of course, look at your existing clients. Anytime that you want to, you can run a poll and find out what people's interests are. And you just build information until you have a really strong idea of who your customers are. So then another aspect of building your branding and messaging strategy is to develop a positioning statement. So who do you serve? What are you offering them? How are you offering it? It could be, and when we say that, it could be something that you're just mailing to them, but let's say it's a service. I like to take online classes. I'm a huge fan of Masterclass. Right now, I'm taking a online photography class with Joel Grimes because I could not resist his beautiful still life photography. And so that's a instance where how you offer it is, yes, you can come take a class at the local community center, or we offer the classes online. So how you're going to offer your product or service to your customers is part of your branding and your positioning statement. And this is a really key one, is why you do what you do. And that might seem soft to you or unnecessary, but there are definitely types of customers, I am one of them, who wants to, it's not that you have to, but it's like you score extra points with me if I see that you are personally involved in your business. So somebody from a past cohort is 4J's Hawaii, and that's a story of Janice, who created her own steak rubs and all kinds of condiments, and she used to bring her dishes to potlucks, and everybody would go crazy and they'd want the recipe, or could you make me some? And the next thing you know, she was catering, and finally, you know, she's got her own business now and she's manufacturing these amazing products. Her rum cake is to die for. And even then, her logo was designed by her sister, who has since passed. And all of this just makes me more invested in the company because I know all about Janice and I know what her story is and I know about her family. So, and hearing the history of how she got to where she is interesting. Excuse me. So sorry, dry throat. Finally, a very important part of your positioning statement is to let customers and potential customers know how you compare to your competitors. How are you different from somebody else they could buy from? You guys, I'm so sorry. How would you feel about taking a quick bathroom break right now while I take care? I need to get like a candy or something. Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so sorry. So 5 minutes.
Okay. This is good.
Thank you. Here. Circle of 5 billion, I think.
Mita, I did see your question in chat. I'm almost done with the basic presentation. And then I want to open it up to Q&A for the other half of the class. So.
Okay, I just wanted to document it before as we were moving on, I didn't want to forget about that. So
yeah, yeah.
Thank
no,
you.
It's an excellent question too.
That's where we're at right now too. I think as we're redoing our website, we're working on we're reformatting our newsletters. And so to me, this is all the stuff that we should be mindful for. It's an opportunity that maybe we haven't taken advantage of in the past. And so, especially in a new website design, we might as well be very cognizant of colors and.
Awesome. This is perfect timing for you then. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect timing.
And a good time to choose a font. What was it?
Yes.
Lato, I think you said?
Lato is our, yeah, that's the one. So if you see our actual HUB, and that's what, I think that's what the font is of the actual logo. So now it's a little bit of, limiting as far as style for other things like our, social media posts and other things we might want to write up. So it'd be good to see what are some supporting.
Yeah. It does have a nice range though, but I can see it's kind of lackluster.
Yeah, I mean, it's good for the logo. I like that. And we have the blue and green already, and I want to use more of those two colors too. And we can do that interpretation of Malcolm and Mackay. So we're trying to figure out how to do that also in some background of what we're going to do on our new website. But the font, I think, is an opportunity as well.
Yeah. When we get into Q&A, I would love it if you would bring up your site if you want to discuss it.
Sure.
Great.
And it's funny how you talked about the imagery as well, because, right now, as we're redesigning, we're trying to see what is the tone that we want to have. And we realize that we don't have a lot of pictures of Hawaii. We don't represent kind of the landscape around us in the site that we're going. And so again, with the colors of blue and green, and also us promoting ourselves as a co-working lifestyle brand, that we need to be cognizant of images that are not just the people working in our space, but of the outside in as well. So we have it in some of our videos, and we have it on our current website. We've got that nice big banner on the top that shows that drone footage. But I think that we need to really put more sense of place in there too. Yeah.
That is a whole other thing too. And I highly recommend that you be taking a lot of photos yourself. One of the challenges with finding stock photography for Hawaii is that you get a lot of blondes in bikinis on the beach, which is, yes, part of Hawaii, but it's not our Hawaii because we live and work here every day. So I remember when I first moved here, I'm like, I'm going to start a stock photo company of my own because I want to see some Hawaiian faces, and just less of the touristy stuff that you find in stock photos. But then the pandemic came along, so there goes that idea.
It's a great idea because people do live, work, and play here, and you need something to represent that. And the diversity of colors, ages, activities. Not everybody is surfing on the beach all day.
Right.
So people are still having that Hawaii lifestyle, but doing other things too.
Yep.
Yeah. You should start that business.
I'm going to actually, Ed, I read your sorry, so patronizing. I saw your question in chat, and I'm actually style guide. I didn't include in this. I actually thought about it as I was falling asleep last night that I should. I'm bringing up a style guide that I'll talk about in a minute.
Okay, is that the same thing? A brand guide, style guide?
It is.
Okay.
But it's very specific as opposed to just saying we use this font, we use this color. It's also like, what are the rules for using it? So I'll show you a really good example. Is everybody back?
I'm back.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm back. Hi.
Great. I paused my. There really isn't much left. It's saying screen share is paused. How do I unpause it? Darn. Are you guys seeing my screen or not?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, good. Okay. And everybody's back. I'm so sorry about that. Sometimes when you talk so much, throat gets so dry. I was literally crying. My throat got so dry. I was almost done with the presentation part because what I'd like to do is go into Q&A and find out what you guys are actually dealing with. I've got a couple questions already lined up, but I just wanted to make a final comment about the presentation, which is this. It's okay to evolve. I know you're about to put a lot of thought into your branding, what your logo is going to look like, what your tone, the colors, the fonts, everything we just discussed. But it doesn't mean that you're stuck with that forever. So here's some really good examples of huge companies who have evolved over time. Starting, I think my favorite though is McDonald's, because look, McDonald's famous barbecue, and then through time you can see we've ended up with the golden arches, which they finally decided was their branding, and you'll see that everywhere. And sometimes all you see is the golden arches and you know what you're dealing with. So just because you're about to spend a lot of time and effort, and if you're printing things, which you will for your business cards and brochures and that sort of thing, yeah, you want to make sure it's really, really right. But that doesn't mean that you have to stay with that forever. Something could change, your company could change, the industry could change, your product or services could change. You could just need a change. There was no reason for any of these companies to change their branding except that they did. So that's the end of the presentation. But what I wanted to get into was to talk about the branding issues that each of you are dealing with. Mita had a question about her font, but I'm going to come back to that, Mita, because I think what Ed is actually asking about is very important, which is developing a style guide. So that's not what I meant to do. I want to stop that share. So one of the companies that we work with, where are you? Is Rotary. Janet, my boss, is a huge Rotary fan. They do amazing good works around the world. They're helping to wipe out polio. It's also a really great way to find new clients. So if it's not Rotary, I definitely recommend that you join some kind of group. What I want to show you is this is Rotary's brand center. It's not just a matter of here's our logo, go ahead and use it. They are very specific about how it's used, and I thought that you should see the way that they control that. So this is their main branding page. Wait. And every single one of these has its own page because this is how important it is. So all the different logos, and then it will give you information like, oh shoot. Sorry, Ed, because this is a really good question, and I wish that I had gotten this all loaded up in advance. Oh, guys. I'm so sorry. I don't want to waste your time on this, but. Okay, so for instance, I had to develop a logo for a local Rotary club. And when you do that, see how its club name can be above or below. Gosh. You know what? I'm not going to waste your time while I dig around trying to find all this, because what I would like to do is send you guys an example in the email that I send out with the link to the video, if that's okay with you. So I will stop sharing. And Mita had a question. She wants to know how important it is to keep fonts consistent in social media and newsletters. How important is it to be connected to your logo font? Her logo creator chose Lato for their font, but she feels it's limiting visually for social media. So should she try to use it for brand consistency and make up for it with colors and graphics? So because, Mita, if you don't mind me sharing what you were just discussing with me, since they're right at a point where they're rebranding, this is a really good time for her to choose a different font. But as I mentioned earlier, you don't have control over the font that's coming across in the social media post, but you do have that control in the graphics. And when I do social media for my clients, I always consistently use their official font. As I also mentioned earlier, I like a good family of fonts. I love Gotham. I love Franklin. Gothic is wonderful. I like to have a mix so that when I go do design stuff for social media, that I can use anything within that range. So it's not crucial, but I think it's important. And if you want consistent branding, choosing a really good logo and sticking with it is strong for your branding. Mita, you had said that you would be willing to share your website with us and tell us what it is you're dealing with.
Yeah, sure. Will you pull it up since you have an easy way to share screen, or?
I just gave everybody the ability.
Okay, hubcoworkinghi.com. So we're redoing our website currently, and one of the things that we just added a new location. So our current website has always reflected our one location here in Kakaako. And so what we're trying to do is have it be a little bit more user-friendly for multiple locations in anticipation of even having more than two. So we knew we had to do a little bit of redesign, but as we're visiting this, this is our new logo that we have that we got over about 1.5 years ago. And what we're trying to do is recognize that we've got this really beautiful blue and green, which we're trying to make a little bit of Malcolm Mackay, represent a little bit of Hawaii lifestyle in here, in addition to what we are, which is a working space, and try to have in our new website, trying to have it be it office, co-working, professional, front face, but also get some more lifestyle in there too. So right now, I don't think we.
Hey, Mita, before you go on, first of all, I would like to ask everybody else to, before you talk about what it is that you, what your tone might be, I would like anybody else to kind of chime in with, oh, bring your logo back up. What you're feeling is,
No,
what
that's
you,
fine. I think it's good. It was down.
the tone is for the hub logo. Go ahead and share it again, Mita, if you could.
Oh, I was sharing it, but I'll pull it up again. I
whoever
just,
was- Oh, Olivia, is that you?
yeah, that's
Sorry.
me. I just
thank you.
pasted the link to her website
Oh,
in the
thank you.
chat. So if people want to just, browse through and everything, but I'll pull it back up.
Oh, thank you. I didn't even know you were here. Great. Okay, so I feel that there's a very strong tone with the logo. Does anybody else feel that way?
Well,
Yeah,
I
it's
see the
friendly.
blue and the green and the black. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I agree with you, Joelle. It's very friendly and approachable to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that what you're trying to convey, Mita?
Yes, I mean, we used to be Impact Hub Honolulu, and it was this maroon rectangle, very industrial, and the tagline in there was the word impact was very strong in there, but it didn't have any sense of community. It just felt very kind of sterile, and the colors weren't right. So when we came up with this design, well, when our logo designer helped with it, the smile was immediately what caught my attention. It kind of gave me this kind of emotional response when I saw it, and then the two people coming together, two individuals coming together. So I thought it was a great logo, and I feel like I want to build things around this kind of happiness and sense of community, and really try to play off of that, even in other marketing things that we're going to be moving forward with. So I think, at this point, like I said, we're redoing our website, trying to figure out how to portray multiple locations, but also use more of the blues and the greens. And right now you can see our font is Lato, which is this, I think that's what the co-working is a better way. And it's a very simple font, which I think, like you said, is very web friendly. But when we try to do things like our social media posts and any other types of things that we're doing, it seems, in my opinion, a little bit sterile. So I'm trying to figure out, just like you, so you saying that we should do a family of fonts is very helpful. And I think I probably want to figure out what could be in a family that can represent maybe what we're trying to portray, which is a professional setting, but also that we are in Hawaii and we can be a little bit whimsical and fun, and our events are all kinds of things too. So if we're doing a Pauhana, this is not the right font to represent that. And also, if we could use that smile. So for me, I'm also thinking that smile image is very powerful. I'd like to use that smile more. I feel like maybe we should just take that and pull it out almost like a target symbol, like, the target thing. And maybe we can think of our smile that way. And we just kind of stamp that smile everywhere on all of our social media and any other posts that we have. So
that's very smart. And I think like you could just have that smile be like a watermark on all of the posts, the graphics that you do for your posts. And it's great that you're using the blue and the green, because like I mentioned earlier, that's a perfect colors for Hawaii. But the black is also what I was saying about giving it kind of a modern feel. So to me, it's crisp and clean and modern and friendly. And yes, I love the smile, and I love that it's two people that are co-working, and so your logo says what it does. I think it's wonderful. I can see, however, what you're saying about then the rest of it seems tepid, like a little diluted compared to the strength of the logo. So I can see why you're considering redoing it. You mentioned while people were still coming back in that you want to get more imagery that's local. Although I don't know who's in control of this, but if you could, I just want to see more of the photos up and down. It's very important. I'll say that's nice. And is that a stock photo, or is that from your
so
space?
this is in our space, because we have that kind of art and lighting, and this is all these images are from our space.
Yeah, see, I mean, if I'm thinking
and our
about,
activities,
yeah. And if I'm thinking of going to a co-working space, the way the space looks is really important. So although I agree with you about getting more beautiful Hawaiian photos in there, I think what you've got is the most important thing, which is what the inside looks like.
Thanks for your feedback. Thanks.
Yeah. And when you're writing your social media, are you using that same approach of professional and modern but fun and
So right
that
now,
connection?
no. Yeah, right now, I think that we're going through some transition on how we manage our social media. We had used a third party, and we're now going to be bringing it in-house. We have some new staff that can handle that. But I think that that's part of our, I don't know what you call that, the social media guidelines that I think we need to define. So whether it's going to be, everything has to have a certain frame on it, or use the font family, but also to define the tone. And I think that's what we're probably working on that right now. And I think over the next month or two, as we're transitioning, starting in May, probably be toying with that. But I think that the more we can kind of go in with some framework would be better. And not really sure even how to set that up. So hoping that we get to that class before we do the in May to help that.
Well, I think it's clear that your tone should be professional but approachable and friendly, because that's the vibe that's in your actual space. So when you talked about what feelings do you want your customers to have, they want to feel like they're going to have a good workspace, which I assume would mean high-speed internet and maybe access to technology. So it's got to be super smart. But then you're also, the whole point is you're not renting offices, it's co-working, and that you're sharing a space. So professional and friendly, and a little bit of humor. I mean, people are paying money for your services or your space. I don't know how do you call it a product or a service? What you do?
We call it a service.
A service, right? Yeah. So they're paying, so they want to take you seriously, but they also want to feel like when they come in and work there that they've got it's a little bit of ohana, they're professional.
Community, right? That's what we need to. That's what I need to soften it up with.
Yeah.
And try to find that perfect balance of community and service.
Yeah, I can even see co-working is the better way. I don't think is approachable or community. I think I think it's smart of you to recognize that you need to be doing that writing as well, and the tone. Does anybody else have something they'd like to bring up for their business? This is your chance.
I have a quick, here, I'll turn on my video. I have a quick question in case anyone else needs a little bit more time, but I think one of the challenges that we face, so we're an HR company and we have a bunch of different branches. Like we do anything from executive recruitment all the way to entry level positions like temping and things like that. So I think something we kind of struggle with almost is marketing to the different, levels simultaneously. So,
Yeah.
I work mostly with the entry level people, just because that's kind of where I like to go, with the younger professionals fresh out of college or in school still. So when I do social media posts, I try to make it a little bit more fun and, approachable for people similar to my age, versus we also do executive recruitment, which is a lot more professional and things like that. So I think that's something that we would like to look into more, is how do we reach different target audiences at the same time?
That is definitely a challenge
Yeah.
because most people don't have that range
Yeah.
in what they do. I think that you can have a general sort of branding on your website and in your collateral, but where you could come up with the targeted marketing is in email marketing.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's where you're going to have a little bit more of a professional tone, maybe with the high level jobs, and be a little more casual and fun, and make working fun for the entry level positions.
Yeah.
It's always nice to have stuff like, health insurance, that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
I think that's the way to go, is email marketing in order to do that. But that being said, it doesn't matter whether it's an entry level position or a CEO. There are certain things that your company provides that are consistent, that your clients can count on you to be professional and responsive, right? Because they're looking for work. So so you want to get across. I don't know how you display that you're responsive, but definitely, what I was just talking about, customer interaction. That's especially important for you, because responsive is not necessarily, something that Mita has to do, right? Or Ed. It's just like, it doesn't have to be, I'm disappointed with the t-shirt you sent me. It's like, it's not like, oh, he didn't respond to me within 4 hours. But if you don't respond within 4 hours, that's serious.
Yeah.
So if you determine what the consistent qualities that you have that are applied to the whole spectrum of clients you have, and then that's what you market and that's what you brand.
Yeah, I think it's kind of confusing too. Like, I think our company, what we do, so our clients are technically other businesses here in Hawaii. So businesses come to our company and say, hey, we need a 3-month temp. And then I guess on the other side, the customers would technically be, the people that we put into those jobs. So I think most of our marketing is geared towards finding people for the jobs. But I think a way to expand would maybe think of, an initiative to draw in other clients to use us to help fill that. So I think, I don't know, it's just kind of a lot of marketing in different
You've got a lot to juggle.
Yeah.
That is, business to business and direct to the consumer and professional and entry level. So yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And definitely email marketing is going to be your gold.
Yeah, well, thank you for that insight.
Sure. Okay, I see I've got a question here. What are the branding considerations for dealing with products and services between businesses, which Jenna just brought up? We started a new business that provides information to the entertainment industry. So our product is data to be shared business to business. It seems to me the consistency and high quality would be important. Yes, as like with everything, I assume that you've created your mission or that statement that I was just reviewing. Have you done that? Something along those lines?
Yes, we've done a mission statement, business plan, kind of traditional stuff. But creating the presence, especially that social media, which is what we're talking about, the branding, to the rest of the world. We're just kind of, I guess, struggling with it a little bit on what are the key things that we should highlight before we actually launch, the new website and the new company.
So you have an existing company right now?
Yes, I was existing company is complete. This is really just spin-off, kind of.
Oh, okay.
There's another business I'm starting. Yeah, I guess I'm being a serial entrepreneur. Just I don't know what to do, but yeah, this is just a new venture, completely new venture.
Right. But your customer is still your customer, whether it's another business or a retail person. So it's probably going to be a little less casual and more highly professional. And we're talking money here. I mean, all of this, we're talking money. But when it's business to business, you need to think about, I would say this just in general on everything. When it comes to marketing, the most important thing to remember is your customer and not yourself. So you're not there to say, oh, this is what we do. This is all about me. This is what our services are. But we recognize that you need this. So you say that you provide information to the industry, entertainment industry. So somebody in your company is like curating all this amazing content. So the benefit that you're providing is like, you don't have time to read all the publications or read all the websites or read all the social media or all the emails on our industry. So we're here to hand select and curate. I love the word curate. And I think other people do, especially when they're really busy. So
I like that. Curate's nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's almost like you're a concierge of sorts
Yeah.
for those people. So I would treat them, I think actually concierge is a good metaphor for that. So, you know, when somebody comes into the hotel or the city, they don't know what to do. And there's the concierge. Like, you don't have to sit down and go through all the tour guides and go to all the tourist websites. Like, this person knows
Right.
what they're doing. So you want to position yourself as somebody who knows all the latest. And how you get that information is up to you. I'm assuming that you are providing the very best information. So
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, but that's great, because the idea of curating, be the concierge is just conveys a lot of visuals to me that allows, when somebody comes to the website, that's exactly it. They need a particular type of digital media, and just kind of a, I don't know, a la carte list of, okay, this is what you get, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever. And this is the price, this is the content, and here's a snippet or something like that.
Yeah.
It's audio. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Another class that I'll be teaching is content marketing. And the main point of content marketing is that you're not selling yourself, but you're establishing yourself as what's called a thought leader. So this is where your social media is going to come into play, because it sounds like people sign up for a subscription and then they choose the topics they're going to pay for. Is that how it works?
Exactly.
You have to
Yeah.
be able to give away a little something for free, right, in order for people to get a taste of what you're offering. So that's where social media is going to come in, because you're going to look what happened this week, or so and so records is changing the way they format contracts. I'm not in the industry, so I don't know what the topics would be, right? So you can't just say, because nothing worse, like if you're on Facebook or something and they're like, oh, I've seen this, like new companies come up, new magazines and things that I would be interested in a heartbeat, but they're not even going to let me read a single issue unless I sign up. And I'm not going to do that. I want to come in and I'll see an ad that interests me. There's one right now I'm like thinking maybe I'll subscribe, to an actual magazine that arrives in my post office box. But I go to the website, I go to their social media account, and I see what the posts are, I see what kind of information they're giving. And then I think, oh, actually, those are some really good pieces of information. But if I can't even look at the content, I'm not going to give you my money. I'm not going to subscribe to that. So in your case, in order to convince people in the entertainment industry that you are a thought leader, you're going to have to provide, little snippets of information through social media, and then say, if this is the kind of information you're interested in, you might want to subscribe to our service. You have to give something away up front.
Sure. No, I understand. Thank you. That's great. That's great. Yeah.
Sure.
And you said you actually have a course coming up, or another
Content marketing. Yeah, that's one of the classes that's in. Yes, Joelle, what a good girl, raises her hand.
Hi, yeah. I just wanted to add for the last person who was talking, that one really good example of this, something that I found hugely helpful, and actually it's a service that I could never afford. But there's a company called WSGN, and it's a company that does sort of it's a company, I forget what they call, like a futurologist that try to look into what's going to happen in the next 2 years, say in the beauty industry or with fashion or with anything, social media marketing. What is the consumer of the future? And they, companies pay a lot of money for access to this information. They basically, tie it down to create personas in different industries. But they send out a newsletter that you can sign up to, which has incredibly helpful information for someone like me that's actually usable data, like that will give you the trends, like the big lines, that is really extremely useful. And of course, if you want to go in deeper, you'd have to subscribe, and it's very expensive. But that they do it through newsletters, and they do some webcasts, and just really useful information. And they do it like 3 times a year, and it's always just spot on and just what you need. And just something like that is just hugely useful. And it's like, as soon as I can afford them, I want to sign up, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great tip.
WSGN.
Yeah, is the company. But just even to see how they do it, even if those subjects aren't of interest for you and your company, but to see how they do it, just sign up and you'll see the kinds of things they send out. And it's exactly in that kind of, it's intelligence. They're sharing intelligence, which is what you're going to do. The way that they get their customers is really helpful. It would be a good way, just copy it.
Do any of you happen to subscribe
great,
to
Veronica.
WSGN? Does anybody here subscribe to that right now? I'm very curious. I'd love to see an example, but yeah.
Yeah, you should just have a look at it. It's really useful in my business. So I'd like to pick your brain, if I could, about my company.
Of course.
So I have there's a lot of Hawaiian beauty brands, a lot. And basically they all doing more or less the same thing, using local ingredients, eco-friendly, made here on the islands, etc., which I do. But I'm really trying to go one step further. So I make my own extracts from things that are grown locally, and I try to import as little as possible. It's fairly easy to make beauty products. You just basically have to pick the ingredients, mix them together. And most of the beauty brands, they're using some local ingredients. Some of them are not even based in Hawaii, that are using Hawaii as a marketing,
Yeah.
cultural appropriation of using Hawaii, and it's not even made here. Some of it is even made on the mainland, and they just say, oh, it's Hawaiian because they use kukui or something. So mine is really the opposite of that. I do very small batches. I would call it luxury skincare, but it's not, totally out of people's range.
Artisanal.
It's artisanal, exactly. But it's luxury artisanal. But the latest thing that I've come up with is refillable packaging. And I've done this from the very beginning. So I've just really invested in, and I'll even show them. He's absolutely gorgeous. I don't know if you can see that. It's not coming out.
Yeah, it's blocking
Gorgeous.
it.
It's blocking it. Why is it blocking it?
I don't know.
Is that,
You should try.
Oh, there it is.
oh, there it is.
Don't move.
So
yeah. Ooh, pretty.
these are like beautiful bottles, and they're refillable. So this idea of, I got very frustrated because beauty packaging is a huge polluter. And one of the things I'm trying to do also with my products is I've broken it down to 3 products that you need. So you don't need like a 50 million products for your skincare. There's like, you do use these 2 things, and basically it does really and sunscreen, and take care of your skin. So it's not gender specific. It's not age specific. It's super practical because you can use it, it's a quick skincare routine, but it really, really works. It's very sustainable, and it's refillable because you can't, like, even plastic in Hawaii, and this is what really got me, is like, oh, they say recyclable packaging. Well, it doesn't get recycled in Hawaii. Most of the plastic doesn't get recycled. Pumps and droppers are made of plastic. We can't really avoid them, but they can be reused. There's no reason to throw it away every time. So, I just need to, those are kind of the differentiators. and the fact that it's really made here. So, but that's a lot of information to get across. So,
well, but it can be simplified. And by the way, I think I'm very excited for you. I am so on board with refillable packaging. Like, I think there should just be every grocery store, it should have stuff in bulk, and there's a mason jar or whatever that's already zeroed out on their scales. And so
Yeah.
thank you for the planet for what you're doing. And it does sound, but I also see you're saying it's a lot, but you're also saying you have the 3 products. So you've done this beautiful simplicity and just not making it confusing. So
yeah.
it's very couture, you know, so and the fact that it's all grown here is definitely most of it is definitely something you should focus on. And you don't have to be nasty and say those other people don't do it, but you can say, and then this is where all of your packaging and all of your social media and all your marketing come in, where you've got photos like of some of the ingredients. Let's say it's coconuts. Here's a photo of the coconut grove where I get my coconuts, or this is where I get my kukui nuts, you know. So those other people that are claiming to be Hawaiian don't have that access because they're not here.
Yeah.
So you definitely have an advantage with that. And I think between that and the refillable packaging, that's going to be amazing.
I just wanted to show you, like, the refills are in aluminum bottles. So aluminum is infinitely recyclable because it has value. So I don't know, like 90% of the aluminum ever created is still in circulation.
Wow.
But the other thing you can do is you can get a pump for this because the bottles are heavy, the glass bottles. You're not going to travel with those. So I'll sell you a pump that you can use the refill bottles to travel with, or you can refill them with something else. I don't care. I just want people to reuse the packaging, not throw it away.
And do you have you already designed a logo and have a website and all that? How far along have you gotten?
Yeah, I have my current packaging and website. It's up. It's Alohi Maui. And I talk about the refill. I've done this from the very beginning. This isn't something I decided to do. I've done it from the moment I created my brand. I've done refillable packaging and offered refills. I was a little bit before my time. People didn't really get it. They're like, oh, that's a hassle. Now there's, I think, much more demand, and it's in my DNA. I've been doing it from the beginning. People who bought from me know that they can buy refills. But I've sort of gone to make the nice bottles are even nicer. You know, like it's something you really want. You're going to pay for the bottle the first time because it's going to be something beautiful in your bathroom, just that gives you pleasure every morning you look at it. But then you can refill it. You don't have to throw it away.
Nice.
So that's kind of, but then I don't want that to dilute the message about it's actually really great skincare too.
Right.
I mean, it really works. It's like, there's like, where do I focus is kind of my difficulty right now.
Jenna has something to say.
I'm like a skincare freak. And I know that this is something that's a little bit newer. But on TikTok, that's a huge market for skincare. I swear to God, because my entire feed page is just different skincares, and it's people trying the product on camera. And there's so many, like, if you're interested in doing like an influencer type of thing, it's huge. Like, they can sell out. I go to Sephora constantly. I spend way too much money there. And there is a big movement of like reusable packaging. A lot of, the skincare brands are going towards glass bottles and things like that, refill. But, if you can get someone on TikTok, there's like a list of, maybe like the top 5 people, and they do work with smaller brands as well as larger brands, but they can literally sell out products from Sephora for weeks just if one of their video goes viral or something like that. So I think that's an interesting way to market it. And then also what, you were saying earlier, you can also use that platform to show videos of like where you're getting the coconuts and things like that too. Because the influencers will lead people to your page if they want to, and it'll be so cool for them to see like, the kukui nuts or the coconuts in your backyard or wherever. I think it's a really good idea. Like, I've just seen it happen because, I see a video and then I'm like, oh my God, that looks really good. Like, I want to buy it. And it's sold out for weeks out of Sephora, which is like a huge company. You know what I mean? So I think it's a really good tool to like maybe look into.
Well, what I'm really hoping is that eventually I can only do small batches. And so one of my problems is if I get too big, but then I can do drops. Like essentially what I'd like to be able to do is sell out before I make it. Like people reserve it. It's
Yeah.
kind of exclusive, like not everybody can get it, in other words.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
I
that
mean,
kind of thing.
yeah, I don't know. I've just seen it. I think it's maybe a good tool to look into, especially because especially I think skincare is becoming a huge thing, especially even for people my age as well as mature, and that's like a big platform that people my age use for products. There's even things like you think TikTok is like dancing and stuff, but there's like Amazon finds I found this week, and then things like that will sell out and things like it's just there's a whole different side of it where products. I think it's a really good marketing tool that's a little bit more accessible than Instagram or things like that because and a lot of them are unpaid too. Like you could send your product for free to someone and then they just try it on camera and then that's how the word gets out versus paying someone to review it for you or something like that.
Jenna, that is such a great tip. And I am a recent convert to TikTok myself, and which I'll mention in the content marketing class. But the last time I was teaching the content marketing, I was like, oh yeah, and here's TikTok. It's for young people. And then I was very dismissive, to be honest.
I know.
Yeah, but since then, like the first time I got on TikTok, I think it was like 3 hours later before I stopped.
I swear to God, it's like the best thing ever because it's your page is literally what you like. So I like skincare, and makeup and stuff, and my entire page is just skincare reviews and makeup, and it sells out products constantly. I swear, it's like amazing.
Jenna, would you?
I'm gonna send you some.
I know. I'll happily review it.
Nice. Joelle, you should really take her up on that, and because Jenna's already on there, and then Jenna, if you could let Joelle know who's like those top 5.
Yeah, I definitely can.
Yeah.
I can definitely. Yeah, seriously.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah. But Joelle, if you haven't been on TikTok, it's easy to just dismiss it as silliness. But like I'm on there, like I don't know why, but like I have a broad range of interests. So, like I like following people who are not who are neurodivergent. I just think their experience of life is very interesting. So like I follow a lot of those people, and I like the dances and all that kind of stuff. But I also see there's a lot of cooking. There's so many how-tos, and it's kind of the Wild West right now, but it's pretty huge. So definitely get in there. And if you're not comfortable doing it, find customers who might promote. And
it's like it does kind of the work for you. Like it markets your product to the people that are interested in skincare, whereas Instagram's kind of just random ads and stuff. But it's like people who are already interested, it'll show up for them automatically, which I think is cool. But yeah,
I just want to contribute to what Joelle was talking about, explaining her products. So it's a great concept, by the way. And all the things. I just went to your website. So I'm on my phone and looking at your website. It almost seems like you could just include all those bullet talking points, like pictograms, like the refills being aluminum, the essences and the things that are made on Maui. So that would kind of help the consumer just look and kind of almost like dummy it down, right? So like no one has to read all this text, scrolling. You just have pictures showing the life cycle of your products from start to finish. And I don't know, that's just my 2 cents.
No, thank you. I am actually redoing that. That's my old website, so I'm in the process of redoing it. And thank you so much for that tip. I actually thought about using an infographic just to show, and saying, one of the inspirations with this is like, okay, you're on the mainland, you can recycle, but guess what? Here we can't. And if we can't recycle it here, even though it's a product that I sell all over the place, if you can't recycle it here, that's sort of my bottom line. That's where I start. If you can't recycle it here, I don't use it or it's reusable. Like that's it.
Yeah, because we're in that issue, in that dilemma. Like all of our products are in aluminum cans. Fortunately, all the aluminum cans are made here on island, on Oahu. So it's and production is here locally. So it helps reduce that carbon footprint. But that's the problem. It's not recycled here, right? So kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. But like you said too, the aluminum gets stronger and stronger. It's 99% recyclable, and it's the best packaging, as far as being clean and environmentally friendly. So props to you for using that.
Joelle, I love this phrase, island crafted conscious self-care. I definitely stick with that. I see Jenna shaking your head. You're muted, but as a potential customer of hers, does that appeal to you?
Yeah, I think that what Ed was saying is a really good idea, because I think for people my age, at least, when you're looking at skincare or any product really, like, I like that it's, eco-friendly and things, but I'm probably not going to read the whole thing just because, the product I'm buying is more like, I like to see videos of like what it looks like. Cause it's kind of, skincare is something that when you could buy an $80 bottle and then you have the first pump and you're like, oh, I don't like this texture. So it's nice to have like videos of it, like how it applies, what it looks like. I liked Ed's idea of, because you have such a cool concept of it being made here and that whole cycle, it would be really cool to like see the pictures of the life cycle versus reading about it, just for someone like me, because I'm not an avid reader. But yeah, I think it's a really good idea. And I really like maybe some pictures. There's a lot of like trends, I guess, where, you could put like a swatch and then you put a pump and then draw it out so people can see the texture of it. Because I think skincare, it's hard to buy it online without seeing it, how it wears on someone's face or something like that. So I think that that's a good idea. Oh, yeah.
And that's a great tip for everybody who's got a product, because it's not just a lotion, but like when I buy clothing, like I live in Hawaii, I don't want some heavy fabric. So I love it when they show the model spinning around in the skirt or the dress, so I can see how light the fabric is. So video, and plus people are 80% more likely to click on something that's got motion in it, video or animation. So that's a very good tip, Jenna.
I just wanted to add something again. I think most women are skincare junkies of some sort, but years ago, and not even that many years ago, I'm sure you're familiar with the brand Tata Harper. Yeah, so I went to a house party where Tata Harper was sampling her products. And how big is, this is not that long ago, but I almost wonder if you're looking for that kind of video content of what, that could be, it could even be that, like you're there showcasing it, you're getting the influencers in on your video, but you can tag people, you can be demoing, you can be talking about it, but you're actually showing whoever the influencers are, and you can have a whole range of, skin types and age ranges, but that way you're still in it too, describing your product, but sampling. So, this was, before social media really picked up as a marketing tool, I think, when she did this. But I almost imagine that that's kind of what, if she were to do it again, that would be a great opportunity.
And then one thing to add on top of that too, just back on the TikTok thing, there's influencers like at different ages too. So what they do is say like, oh, I have dry to normal skin and I live in this weather or something, and then they apply it. And then there's also influencers that are like, okay, we'll see how it looks on mature skin, and then they do the same. So it's really cool to see that range, I think. But again, like with skincare, it's like really valuable. I think if I just saw a bottle, like I probably wouldn't buy it without any, like seeing a video of it being applied, just because that's where you're like, oh my God, it looks so nice. And then the people are like, this feels so great. It smells, you know what I'm saying? It's like a whole thing that makes it, and then once someone starts talking about it on social media, like everyone's like, okay, I have to try it. And then they do videos and it just takes on a life of its own. I really think it's like a huge tool that, is kind of like fresh for the taking right now.
That's a great tip. What was that? I was watching a TikTok I forget the name of the company, but they make like fruit smoothies, but it's like a powder. You're supposed to add it to water or something. It's really huge. I can't believe they're not doing a very good job of branding. I can't remember the name of the company, but I watched the video reviews because I'm always struggling with breakfast. I get up and I make my coffee, and then honestly, I don't want to eat until like 10 or 11. But then by time lunch comes, I'm almost faint with hunger. So I'm always trying to find like a really good breakfast situation. So I watch all the videos. So it can go either way because some of these videos aren't great because they didn't like the product. So it's if you can get people that you know love the product to help market your stuff on TikTok or anywhere, that's definitely the way to go. And you definitely look like you have a willing person here to take care of that. I'm not a beauty product addict. Don't be horrified, but I wash my face with soft soap, that I use the same thing in the kitchen. And then since I moved to Hawaii, I haven't needed any kind of, so that's what I do every day. It's just the soap. But I am a sucker for beautiful packaging, and I love the fact that you're eco-friendly. So that's the kind of thing that would draw me to you. And if you made a lip balm, I would be over it, because every time I throw out my little Burt's Bees lip balm, I'm horrified with myself. I once actually, I got Martha Stewart had a kit to make your own lip balm. I did that for a while, and I should get back to it. But I know you only want 3 products, but if you added lip balm to it, I'd be on it like that. So what else? Who else have some questions about their branding? This is a great opportunity to get feedback from other people, like Jenna.
So I have a question, or can you come up with a cool tagline for us? We have one that's been around for a long time, and it's a taste of Hawaii. So I'd like to entertain some new taglines.
So give me what's the tone for your company?
Oh, tropical fun outdoors.
Nice.
A taste of Hawaii, everything from the sand to Mauka to Makai.
That's beautiful right there. And how do you feel about using a little, oh God, I'm blanking. What do you call it? Pigeon, house it and that kind of thing. Is that too local, or is it bringing Hawaii to the rest of the world by teaching them about a little local flavor?
Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, local pigeon. I love that. That's a good look.
Yeah.
We trademark a lot of different taglines, but I noticed like we always use the same one on our drinks, a taste of Hawaii. And I think we use that on our guava jellies also, and all of our other popular products and our candies, chocolate covered macadamia nuts. So yeah, I'm always open to new taglines. I'm just not good at creating them.
Jenna's got one.
I've got lots of ideas just for random things, but I don't have a tagline. But I think because I'm from here and then I lived in the mainland, so I would see like Hawaiian sound. Like if you go, when you live on the mainland, every Hawaii person is homesick for Hawaii food. So you go to, like the Najia or the Marukai, that's 30 minutes away to get all that stuff. But I think a way to maybe get it to reach like regular grocery stores on the mainland is to market it for something maybe like for cocktails or something a little bit more like, like Hawaii people probably would be the only person to buy it because they're the only person that's super conscious of the brand on the mainland. But if you can market it to, be incorporated into tropical drinks or things like that and make it seem like a diverse mixer for different types of tropical cocktails, I think that would be a way to like reach a different market, because everyone loves tropical cocktails. So I think that's kind of a good way to maybe get it into like Vaughn's or something like that.
Oh man, that's awesome you said that.
That's great.
We have a that's thanks for mentioning that and supporting that, Jenna, because that's something I saw in the archives. We have such nostalgic posters and labels from the generations and that started this business, and there's like Blue Hawaii, all these like cool retro labels, and I took photos of them and they're like my inspo, and that's something I want to do is create a cocktail mixer that's a clean label and kind of relevant to the times, but keeping that nostalgia of being old school, like a tiki bar type of vibe.
Mita's got a comment.
Yeah, I wanted to offer, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that sparkling water called Topo Chico.
Oh yeah,
Ed,
I
have you
love
heard
that
of it?
stuff.
Okay, so Topo Chico,
I
think
drink
about
those.
it. So Topo Chico is just sparkling water that's based out of Texas, right? And so somehow they've made their sparkling water, they've made all these mixtures, and now there's all these people that make these cocktails off of this sparkling water brand. Now you can use any sparkling water, but whatever they've done, that might be a good thing to kind of watch and look back and see what they've done and how they've met that market. You guys have a more complex product, right? You have your unique juice blends, so it'd be so much easier to make yours like a staple that nobody can substitute your Hawaiian Sun product with like another, similar, nobody makes the same flavors. The other thing, if you're going for retro, I don't know if you're interested in, if you follow like local artists, there's this artist called Nick Kuchar. Have you
Oh
heard
yeah,
of?
I have a lot of his artwork. Yeah.
And so for me, when I think of nostalgic images and nostalgic art, he's like this modern guy who's doing these really fun images. So something that maybe I don't know him, but I like his art. But I think that maybe if you, as your company, if you were to go in that retro direction, if it's inspired by that style of art, or maybe you can get him to collaborate. But
yeah, I've reached out to him to do packaging, and we can't afford him.
Yeah, I know we can only afford his prints too, but yeah, good stuff. But maybe you'll find another local artist. I've got a lot of connections with artists here, so if you ever want a connection, I know lots of people want to jump on that.
Punky Aloha.
Right.
Punky Aloha. I love her.
And I love the Topo Chico. I think you meant the hard seltzers, because I love those. It's they make really fun tropical flavored alcohol seltzer drinks.
Yeah.
And I think it's better than the rest of them that's out there. But yeah, we're a little late to the game with the seltzer market, and we're limited to our production as far as like seltzer is, you need carbonated, you need like a special equipment to make that. Our drinks are non-carbonated, so we can't make that, but like a Coke and Pepsi can, because they're using the same technology to make their sodas, so they can make seltzer drinks. So
maybe you could do like try to market like a national like Hawaiian Sun or something day, and then reach out to like bars or something on the mainland, and you can maybe send them a case and just have them for one day only make drinks with your thing. Whenever you get around to the cocktail mixer, that'd be a good way to kind of get it out there. Because I think I just think obviously Hawaii is a huge market for it, but the mainland loves drinking tropical stuff and pretending they're in Hawaii. It's like a huge thing.
Yeah, you can take over Taco Tuesday with Tiki Tuesday, and you make it all about your drinks. I mean, and you just come up with a thing like that, and then you kind of send some sample products and some recipes, and that's it. Maybe you've got a market, and maybe they'll have your cases on order.
I love it. Thank you, Tiki Tuesday. I'm in.
We're definitely deep
so
into.
So am I. We'll be your test market.
All right.
You send a case over to Hub Co-working. There's lots of people there.
Yeah,
we can have a Pauhana, and you can make the cocktails. And I'm telling you, we'll get pressed on that too. So something to think about, Ed.
Nice.
Thank you very much.
The recipes is a great idea. You can use that in social media, and just you don't have to work so hard. Get the people that are already following you and do a little contest, and the winner gets a case or whatever, or a t-shirt or a hat or whatever it is, that you want to offer them, and let them do the work.
Awesome. Great.
And also these photos you're taking from back in the day, those should be on social media too. Throwback Thursday to our Blue Hawaii from 1978 or whatever. And what were you doing in 1978? None of you were born, but I remember it.
Well, thank you. These are all great suggestions. I'm writing all this down, so thank you.
Actually, Ed, I fell asleep the other night thinking about your company, and I had an idea, because that's when I always have the best ideas. And I gave this idea away to somebody from the last cohort, because it was a similar thing. But the fact that you're selling merchandise, so because they do the same thing, so I thought it would be kind of fun if you did like a TikTok kind of thing, or some fun little video where somebody's going, well, I like Hawaiian Sun so much that I drink it every day. And the next person goes, you think you like Hawaiian Sun? I served it at my wedding. And then finally, the last person's wearing your hat and your t-shirt and whatever, like all of your swag all at once. Is like, come on, right? So you could kind of play off each other.
One up each other.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, yeah, I also wanted to add, with all the vintage archival things that you were able to get or have access to, I think it would be a cool idea to going more on the merchandising side, like maybe do a limited edition.
Ooh.
I feel like people will pay money to like get a limited edition vintage type of thing because it's nostalgia, and also like I feel like people just like collecting things, especially if it reminds them of their childhood. So yeah, you could like probably like scan or whatever and then just throw it into Photoshop and have a mock-up and then put it on a t-shirt.
Oh, awesome.
Just
That's a
another
great
idea.
idea, Olivia.
Because I think
Thank you.
Hawaiian Airlines did something like that, right? Where they brought the retro design back and it was huge and people were buying hats and totes and things. So I think the retro is very big right now. So that's a good idea.
That's right. Yeah.
Also, even bigger companies like Apple, like in their events, they've been bringing back like the old Apple retro logos, and I think people love that. So
It's funny how people come attached to branding. It shows you how important it is and how memorable it can be.
Yeah, well, that's why I came to work for this company.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah. I mean, it's an iconic brand. I like to say it's a household brand in Hawaii.
Nice. I've put it in ice cube trays.
Yeah. Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
I mix it with lots of different things, and mimosas are great.
Nice.
With our passion orange and
And
guava
there's a
nectar.
theme emerging here.
What did I need? I need AA.
At the end of this cohort, we should all meet at Hub Co-working and have a little happy hour.
Yeah, happy hour. Drink recipes on you. You got.
Oh man.
Yeah. I
I'll
grew up in
supply- I'll
Hawaii, and
supply-
I know that, Hawaiian Sun is just like, when I heard that you work for them, I'm like, oh, cool. You've been around for a long time.
Yeah, and it's fun because it is a family business and it's 4 generations, and the 3rd generation is kind of the 30 and 40-year-olds that are running the business because their dads and uncles and aunties, they're all retiring. So there's going to be big changes. So we're just trying to, the values are there and the loyalty. So we just kind of reinventing the wheel, recycling things. Everything's coming back, right? Like all this retro stuff. So I appreciate everyone's input
Nice.
because it'll be fun. There's gonna be some really fun things ahead.
Yeah, when I saw that you were signed up, I'm like, what, why, why? Because it's such a
Why?
huge established, but then, then you mentioned you're here for the merchandise. So I'm
You're right.
sure you'll learn a lot, but I mean, I think you have a natural audience, as everyone
Yeah,
has just
it
proven.
helps. It definitely helps. So thank you.
Hey, Renee, how's your branding coming along? You're muted.
let me see if I can unmute her on my side.
Oh, there she is.
Okay.
Oh, yes, I'm here. Wow, that is exciting as mimosas and cocktails and all of that. But I had a question about my branding, and so I like how you stated that we should be consistent with our branding. And I've had some challenges as I'm developing my colorways and my style. I do know for a fact what I like. I like like the luxury look. I like the pinks, the blacks, the metallics. That's all me. That's my brand. But what do you do as your business evolves? What do you do with customers who might want another colorway, say like the earth tones or like the Hawaiian prints or that type of things? Like do I try and fit that market, or do I just stay consistent with who I am as a brand?
Your products don't have to be married to a particular palette. Your branding does. So whatever your logo is, or I'm thinking also like something like Chanel or Gucci, right? They are not attached to any color. Like when you see those C's, it's Chanel. It's just the letters and it's metallic. So it could be something that you're just dangling off the purse that's a metallic tag. And it doesn't have to be your color. So that way you can spread out with your design and explore a different palette for those. And also, you're not obligated to design something just because they want earth tone. You can be you. That's the whole point of starting this business. So it could be that, I forget what colors you said, but are they pink?
Yeah,
You
I
said
like,
pink and
yeah, pinks and my metallics. I do have certain color palettes that appeal to me, may not appeal to somebody else, but when I look at those colors, I think of luxury, and I think I want to stay in that that arena, because I think if I venture out into somebody that I'm not, say like if I do like Hawaiian prints or like greens and blues, and they're all tropical, they resonate, the islands, and that's really not me, but I still kind of want to put a flair of that into my brand because I am from Hawaii,
Yeah.
but then I also want to stay consistent. So,
And do you design
if
the
that makes
patterns,
sense.
your textiles?
I have a graphic artist who does it for me, but it's based on the prints that I want him to design. So they're really sort of unique. They're taken from certain objects, say like a Zen garden, so he'll create something unique for my brand in the colorways that I want him to.
Yeah.
So
Well, if you're the artist, this is different for a lot of different companies, right? But you're an artist, so you get to express your art the way you want to, and you don't need to cater to somebody else who just wants what they want. So you feel free to stick to that. You have to, and it seems to me that if you put a dozen handbags out, how would I know which one was yours? And if it's the textiles and the patterns and your colors, then no, you shouldn't, vary from that.
yeah.
But if it's a shape, or the way that you do the clasps, or the way the chain is, or whatever, if that's what makes you like, all my bags have a gold chain, a thick gold chain, like Mr. T thick, you know what I mean? And then I'm making up something I know you don't use.
Oh yeah.
But then everybody would know when they saw that bag, they go, oh, that's a Renee bag, because I recognize that chain anywhere. My boss gave me, because I don't have a car here. I chose not to bring a car to Hawaii, so I take the bus, which means I don't have beautiful, sexy purses. I have a backpack because I have to throw my lunch and everything, my whole day in it. But when I'm running around downtown and doing little errands, I'm like, I need a little bag. And she gave me, I don't even know the name of the brand, but every one of their purses has like a little gorilla hanging off of it.
Oh.
Yeah. So all the
I think
purses
it's
look.
Kipling.
Is that it?
I think it's
Oh, yeah.
Kipling.
Yeah.
I have the monkey.
Kipling.
So it's like the purses all look different, but that gorilla is on every purse. Like that's how you know it's that brand. So, but if your brand is your textiles, then I wouldn't vary. You should stick to what you want to make.
Yeah, and I think it's not so much the textiles, but it's also what appeals to the majority of women, what kind of prints they like. And so yeah, mine is specifically just the colorways. I think I'm trying to key in on because I want my brand to stand out, because a handbag is just a handbag, right? But then also it's the symbolic meaning behind the prints too. So
Yeah.
I think I have several different factors that I could present. I may not be able to do a TikTok video because I'm not in that generation, Jenna, but and I don't know what I would. I don't know
Neither
if
was
I would
Ocean
do a
Spray
TikTok.
Dude. Look at
Yeah,
Ocean
but
Spray
TikTok
Dude.
TikTok is
Yeah,
cool because
I mean,
like on
how would you do a
Instagram,
TikTok video?
if you like hire someone on Instagram, I think the more followers they have, the more people they see it. But TikTok, you can literally have 2 followers and your video could go viral by itself, which is interesting. But I was just kind of thinking, like I like fashion a lot too, and I can't afford all the designer people, but I like to like look at their collection. So maybe you could do like a spring collection or a summer collection. where you incorporate things that maybe your customers want, but it's just a line. So it's not like you're committing long-term to doing that. One thing I think about when I say that is that Fendi just came out with one, and they kind of have different bags, but they always have either their logo or like their name, in those block, or like, like a gold something on the bottom or something, but they just did one that's like celebrating women empowerment. So they have bags where there's like women of all different colors, and it's super cool. Or even if they're not women, just the different, skin tones of people like on one single bag. And I thought that was a cool concept. But yeah, I don't know, just something like that where it's like a one-time issue, because then also it can be, like it's cool and people want to do it because it's a one-time edition and things like that. I don't know. I think it's cool to do something, stay true to who you are, obviously, but also you can do something different that the design still reflects who you are, even if you're using a different colorway or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. That makes a lot of sense. And yeah, and I thought about that. That'll keep people coming to your site, even if those are the customers that may not necessarily love your colorway, but then they're like, oh, I think she's gonna make a handbag with just these colorways or this with this print or this style.
Yeah, like Fendi has their classic like handbags, and then the colorways of it, like they have that yellow, and then they have brown, and then they have their monogram. But they do collections maybe like once a year, once every few years, that are really eclectic and cool. And I think like I don't ever buy like designer bags, but I saw that bag and I was like, oh my God, I really want it, and it was like just cool. Just something different to like have people kind of flock to your page and then see, what's she gonna do next or something like that. And then get the classics, and then see if you're wanting to do something new and fresh, you can just send out a one-time line or something like that too.
Oh, thank you. That sounds really great.
And I want to encourage you, don't be shy about TikTok. And it doesn't mean that you have to do TikTok the way everybody else is. So like, I would love to see how the purses are made. I don't know, are they manufactured here in Hawaii where you can go film it or?
Yeah, I want to keep everything here locally. And that's been a real big challenge for me because my handbags are not really complex. They're just basic fabric, and then they're sewn into, specific designs. But yes, they will be hand sewn here in Hawaii. And everything from the fabric printing on will be here. And that's been, it's been challenging just to get everything, all the pieces together, because when one person can do this, the other one can't. And so, yeah, I'm still plugging away here.
Film, because all of that is interesting. And like, if I'm buying, I'm not a shopper, but if I buy a purse, I get a really good one that's going to last for a really long time. So I would be interested to see the stitching, how strong the seams are, like all that stuff is really interesting to me. And it doesn't mean you have to be on there. It doesn't mean you have to be a 20-year-old model. You can, there's all kinds of stuff on TikTok, right, Jenna?
Yeah, there's tons. And like, I think too, another video that's becoming popular is that you can have your handbag, let's say maybe it's a hot pink one, and then you can say the different ways to style this handbag, and then you can put, or have someone put on an outfit that looks good with the pink one, and then you switch it. You could say like casual date night, and then how you would style an outfit with the pink one, and then you can say fancy dinner, or running errands, and then just different. I think it gives people like a way to envision like, oh, I wear outfits similar to that, I could wear that handbag. Like, because I think too with fashion, a lot of people like something but they won't buy it because they're like, oh, I don't know what I would wear that with or something. So having something that like shows different options and gives them ideas like, oh, I could wear something like that, and then that's, I think, inclines people like, oh, that handbag is so versatile, it looks good in all these different outfits, different settings, and like that's a new thing that I think is becoming really popular too. I'm like the TikTok master. Oh yeah.
Oh, I should contract you out then.
I was just going to say, Jenna, why don't we all like invite you to our, like, I'll invite you to the co-working space. She's going to hook you up with a handbag. You're going to shoot all these TikTok videos, and we're all going to get tagged in it.
I'm happy to do it. I don't have any followers, but I do like a lot of videos, so I know what's out there.
Jenna, you're a natural marketer, by the way.
I know. Thank you, Jenna.
No, because it's the having those ideas and always coming up with another idea. That's really impressive.
And Mita, I just one more thing. I thought of this because I actually live really close to you. And so I didn't know, like, I think one thing for me, like I walk my dog around and stuff, but I live in the apartment buildings and Kaka'ako has a ton of apartment buildings.
Oh my gosh.
And, you know, when you, like a lot of people, like I was working from home full time for a while and I kind of got comfortable with that. But I think one thing, like I really missed people. But I think too, like I wouldn't know right away, like if I wanted to use your space, like I wouldn't know, like, do I have to sign up beforehand? Can I just walk in? Do I have to buy a membership? Like, I think that probably, like, for example, one time my Wi-Fi went down and I just was kind of like, but I didn't know, like I could literally walk down the street and how I would do that, you know, like, could I just walk in? How does that work? I think because, you know, with the apartment buildings, I'm sure a lot of people are working from home and like, I miss like the office camaraderie. So, you know, that you have like Pauhanas, that's super cool. And like, you know, it's just stuff like that. Like, I think just make it a little bit more clear. Like if I were to, like, I know I've seen your company, but I just didn't know, like if I clicked on your Instagram or something, like just something right away, like you can say like, come in for free or something. And then like, I don't know how I would approach the business if I wanted to use it. I think right away would be a lot like easier for me. Like, oh, do I have to pay ahead of time or do I walk in or that type of thing?
That's really good feedback. Thank you. In fact, we're just starting a new social media campaign. And so we're trying to lead with this like first week free and all these types of things too. So I'll figure out how we can still keep that up in front as we start it. Thank you, Jenna. And why don't you just come on down and meet me in person and I'll totally hook you up.
Well, now I only work from home once a week, but I can definitely stop by every so often. But yeah, just because I don't really know like how I would use it. Like I didn't know if I had to pay up front or if I just can walk in and sit down somewhere. I think it's a little intimidating to like go by yourself and not know what you're doing. But yeah.
I know that Treehouse in Kailua offers tours. You know, so that might be something to make clear that people could get a tour. And if we're meeting in public again, a little mixer. Oh, you know, Mita, I did want to add that since you're in Kaka'ako, the first thing I think of is all the beautiful street murals. So you were talking about getting more photos of beautiful Hawaii, but I would also include your amazing neighborhood. Because the art is, I keep meaning to, I want to just like spend a Saturday walking through Kaka'ako and just taking photos of all the beautiful street murals. So I would, right? It's all over.
You say that we have all the murals outside, but if you have a chance to come into our space, we've taken those same artists and we've brought them into our space and we've got 20-foot murals inside our space by some of these same artists. And so I need to get more of those on our website and actually even have a tab that just features all the art that's in our space. It's a very inspiring and cool and eclectic space. So I'm glad that, because the sense of space is there, but we brought it inside here. So I need to feature that more.
Nice. I don't know if it's still, I think it's past, but I went to the Bishop Museum in, you know how Kaka'ako usually has the yearly street art festival, but they haven't been able to do it because of the pandemic. So they did do a whole installation, I guess you would call it, at the Bishop, you know, so it was like a whole building and all those artists had come in and did murals inside there. I have dozens of photos from that. So if you ever want to get some photos from me, I'm happy to share them with you and you can use along the lines of, because lots of good Hawaiian stuff, as long as you give credit to Bishop and the artists. Nick and Shanena, we have not heard from you guys. You have any branding questions? We've got a good group of people with some amazing ideas right now. Bye, Joelle. I guess you already left. Nick? Shanina? Nothing? Is that everybody who's here at this point? Okay. Oh, it's only 10:30. We have a half an hour still.
Well, I wanted to ask, Renee, do you have like a website up or anything? Let me see.
No, I don't, not yet.
Okay.
I'm actually before I signed up for this cohort, I was talking to Brian from Topeki.
Yeah.
And so I'm planning to get together with him, and I was gonna probably use part of my hours, that one-on-one consulting with him. But yeah, so I'm just very, very new to this in terms of having something, online. I have an Instagram, but it's really not anything.
Will you share it with us so we can see your purses? You call them purses, handbags? What do you call them?
They're handbags.
Okay.
So if you go on my Instagram, it's basically, it's Meraki Dolls Hawaii. I think I have it as, or Meraki Dolls. I don't go on it as often, but I do have a couple handbags on there that it was manufactured in New York. So and I found that it was very expensive to do my designs in that way. So I kind of went back to square one and thought if I could just start with something basic like a clutch or even like a tote, that type of thing. Because I'm not a sewer. I can't sew. I try, but it's not, it's the stitching will be all off and so forth. But
I think too, like with like handbags, I think having something like how we were mentioning earlier about how we like to know how it's made and stuff. Like, I think one thing that's cool, maybe, I don't have any Louis Vuittons, but I think it's cool that I know this, and a lot of people know this, is that they market that they're made with a single piece of leather. So one side is like the monogram's upright, and then the other side, it's always upside down. But just something like that, it's cool to know that it's made with one piece of leather, and that, when you see Louis Vuitton, you're like, whenever I see one, I always randomly look for the upside down one for some reason. I just think it's like a cool little tidbit about, how it's made, that I think it's like cool to know. So something like that would be cool too.
yeah, because I watch a lot of YouTube videos and just how they put together a simple purse, and it's just very interesting to just see a basic like flat piece of fabric and it just nothing. But then when they put it together, it's like, oh, okay, that's how they, how it got sewn together. It looks good and it makes you want to sew. But then when I try, it's like, so I'm gonna leave the sewing to somebody else to do.
I'm reading a book on kimono, and it's very interesting to read about how basic it is as far as the sewing, but then how much thought has to go into the textile so that it wraps properly and everything works the way it does. Renee, since you haven't done a logo or anything yet, like this is a perfect class for you right now, because you need to think about all those elements that we talked about. And we know your story. And I highly recommend that you come up with some kind of icon or shape, maybe two hearts, right? One nestled within the other. Oh, you have one?
Yeah, actually, Laura, I do. Yeah. So my graphic artist just created one for me, and my brand is registered actually with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. So I recently, in fact, just yesterday, I got an email from my attorney stating that my statement of use, which is the certificate which allows me to sell in commerce with my registered trademark, which is my logo, and my brand name. So that's a bit of good news for me. So that was actually, my graphic artist actually redid it. So it's like a delta, like a triangle with the lotus flower in the middle. So it has it has a story to it. I have to actually, I can actually send it to you so you can read about it. But yeah, he and his team created it, he actually did a story on as to how he came about hearing my personal story to it. So
well, like beauty grows out of the mud.
Yeah.
Lotus is a beautiful symbol.
Yeah, and Meraki in Greek, it's a Greek word, and it means that whatever you do with your heart and your soul, your personal touch. And I had to put the Y in there for trademark purposes, because there was another brand that did clothing, I believe. I think it's a Meraki brand clothing line. So for trademark purposes, I put the Y in there. So that's why it's a little misspelled, but then I think it's unique.
I think these are so cute. I'm looking at your Instagram right now. I think too, They're so cute.
Well, thank you.
Because I think one of your brand messages, like you were saying, is like doing everything full-heartedly and stuff. I think it would be cool if you maybe whenever you make a new design, you can post like why you made this design. You could say like, I was tired of I'm not fitting this and this, and so I made this bag because when I'm running around doing this, like I want something. And then you could do videos like what fits in my bag or what's in my bag and stuff like that. But yeah, it's really cool. I think they're really cute.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Jenna, share it.
Oh,
And
great.
Renee,
Yeah,
getting
sorry,
back
I'm
to,
not.
oh,
Yeah, sorry, Laura. Yeah, I'm not
oh,
really
cute.
technically advanced, but I
They're
do have
super
a,
cute.
That's
Yeah,
very
so-
Hawaiian looking with the
And then I
lotus
think
and
this
the
is the bag that
pad.
you trade, right?
yeah, so that's the origami tote. I actually sewed that. It took me days to like put it together, and
They're so
I wasted a
cute.
lot of material with previous samples, but then so that origami tote is what I'm having this one company put together for me.
Oh, nice. Yay. They're really cute. I like them a lot.
Thank you. Thanks. It's just a really simple, piece of fabric that's folded into an, like, I guess
That's so
origami shape. And then, yeah, it's just a basic tote that I'm hoping, to get more produced.
with like
Um,
Cherry Blossom Festival or something.
yeah.
And like give
So
them
that print,
have them little, I don't know, put
Yeah.
little whenever they make like packages or something, you can try to like contact them, and then they could buy your bags and put in the gift things into that and then give that, I don't know, something like that.
oh yeah, yeah.
Jenna,
In
quit
fact,
your
those little-
job and start getting to marketing.
Oh, I wish
We actually
yes,
know marketing.
Jenna, you really should. You're good at it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Renee, now that you have the logo with the triangle and the lotus, this is where you could make some kind of tag. It could either be metal, or it could even be a leather tag where it's embossed, or something that would still look really pretty on the handbag. And then, although you're not open to changing textiles right now, but then in the future, if you do want to spread out and not just be identified by the colors in your fabric, then you already have that in place, and people will know it's your bag because it's a little, I see it metal. I like a little metal tag. I think it'd be really pretty. So
Yeah. My first prototype that I did in New York, this is way back when, it had a metal plate, but it was, I didn't get it back from the manufacturer that I think I paid her for it, and she kept a whole bunch, but it's okay, because I actually rebranded everything now. And yeah, I'm hoping to have something more organic. I really like that engraved, like little leather. In fact, it's so funny, Laura, I ordered some, and I think I have it here.
oh,
So I don't know if you can see it, but it's like a little suede.
oh,
little
very
suede.
sweet.
It's like it has like a shimmery ivory with my brand name engraved in it. So hopefully
That's
hopefully it'll
exactly
work.
what I'm talking about. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very nice.
I wanted to add, I did take a look at your Instagram and your products. I think it'd be a very good fit if once you start producing more, right? You can reach out to like local boutique stores,
Mhm.
and that's how you can, tap into the local market and, like spread your brand name through there. Because I really think, or do collaborations like through Instagram. Like, I know it's because I had actually a friend. He was like starting a cookie shop kind of thing during the pandemic, and he just started off of Instagram, just trying, and he just like message friends like, hey, follow. I think it's in the beginning, it's just to get people to follow, and then once you can do like a giveaway or something, and then that's when you have people reposting, and people will start seeing that. Even though like you can click through people's story, like a picture will stick to people's minds, and even though they're like, oh, okay, whatever, they'll still remember that. And yeah, I think the reposting, like if I have 400 followers and I repost it, likely maybe you can say a fourth of that, maybe 100 people will see it, and that's how you can spread. And especially I think if you reach out to the local boutique stores, they can help market it too, because I know a club member of mine, my business club, she started a small shop at Almoana, and she has a lot of local like smaller boutique companies, and then she like brings in their products, and like every day she has on Instagram, she just posting on her story like, oh, we got these new products in, or like, and they kind of do snippets. So I think that's another way to market your materials, and just push out. But that, yeah, that's like once when you have more product out, but that's a future idea.
Oh, no, thanks, Olivia. That actually helps. And I think there's just so many pieces, bits and pieces to all of this to put together. And so just, just having this group of people that can just, we could just talk about things. It really puts things into perspective, and it's starting to make more sense to me now. I mean, it's still a lot of work to do, but I'm thinking like, okay, do I have to have product first before I start even, getting on social media, or do I wait, or do I start doing stuff now? Or
I don't think you have to wait though, because like when my friend was starting his cookie shop, he didn't even have the shop or anything. He was just pushing out like all the sample like products or like the batches of cookies he made, and just posting it and just getting it out. So when he opened or have the cookies, people are like, we already know where to go, or we want to try this, you know? So I don't think it hurts to just start showing pictures, marketing, or reaching out to people, so.
This is something that Taylor talked about, and that I'll be talking about content marketing, which is before the very top level of branding is just making people aware of you. And when it comes to social media, it can't just be all about me, and what I do. You have to have a reciprocal relationship with people on the internet. The whole idea is to create a community. So for instance, I think it'd be great for you to collaborate with some of the local fashion designers that are hitting it really big these days, like at Fashion Week and everything in New York. And you don't even have to start by contacting them directly. You start following all the designers who you want to work with, or the stores you want to work with. And then part of your social media, not part of it, like a good chunk, like at least a third of your social media should have nothing to do with you or your business, but about generally your industry or Hawaii or fashion in Hawaii or Hawaiian fashion. So find the people that you like, and then you can share their posts and say, look at this amazing dress, or look at this great aloha shirt, or whatever it is that they're doing. And then you will show up on their radar. So, and you can start to build, and then they might start posting your posts when you are able to start sharing. But you can't just like launch a website and then start advertising. When somebody sees one of your posts or they see an ad, they're going to follow that link and they're going to go back to your profile. And if you have nothing but self-serving content, or if you only have 3 or 4 posts, they're not going to think you're legitimate, or they're not going to be engaged yet. So when you show that you are reaching out to the entire Hawaiian community and that you support your fellow designers, not necessarily handbags, then they'll be excited and they'll want to see your post, because you're posting really great stuff. And that you can start right away. And even if you're not posting it, start thinking about what you want to write. And of course, we'll have social media be covered elsewhere, but even if you're not posting on social media yet, you can start to plan what you're going to post and who you're going to follow. And I bet some people here have some ideas what who you should follow. Her name is Jenna.
Yeah, I'm thinking like if you trademark your first bag, I think that's super cool, because then down the line you could like collab with like Manuhili'i or things like that, and then they could put their prints on your bag design. Which is a good way to like get your name out there, and then from there you can start doing your own designs again, or you'll already have your own designs at that point, but they'll love the bag so much they'll like I said earlier, like want to see what you do next and stuff like that. So I think trademarking your first handbag design is super cool and like a good idea, because that's really like what makes you famous eventually, like Telfar bags, they have like one design, but they're huge right now, and they have a waiting list on there. And I don't know, just like having a your first bag come out would be super cool. And then also, like for me, I don't really use bigger handbags, but like if you wanted to make your same design and make it like a smaller version too, like that would be a good idea too, and stuff like that. Yeah. But yeah.
Although I think in your case, Renee, we want them to use your textile, because your textile is the soul of your work, not the shape of the bags, right? So.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I
No, that's okay.
I didn't know what a textile was. I thought I did.
Jenna, because I'm trying to think of the designs as well. You know, like I know there are a lot of people that don't like totes; they like clutches. You know, I personally, I like clutches only in specific situations, but it's not the first thing I would buy. I think I would look for something more functional, like a tote. But then I do want to have a variety of different sizes, different functionality in a purse, you know, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think like one example I'm thinking of that's similar to that was the Aloha collection.
I love Aloha collection.
Yeah,
I have several of those bags. Yes, I do.
Yeah. And that was super cool because they use the same textile, I think is the right word, the print, and then they make different sizes of the print, which I think is super cool.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was just about to talk to you about the Aloha collection because they've done such a good job of like taking, like this is like one of their earlier prints, and they've got this signature kind of contrasting zipper, but then they take the same thing and they make it in every style, whether you want a fanny pack or you want a small clutch or you want a big tote or you want a beach tote. And so then it becomes the pattern is what you're seeking, and then you can serve any purpose you need for it. Jenna Lamb does that too, I think, locally. There's some collaborations, right? And so there's quite a few local people that have done that. And then even people like Aloha, they've done a good job with collaborations as well, right? And Jenna Lamb. So on their website, you see that. And so then it becomes a cross-marketing opportunity too, because the other people already have their name. You sell that designer or that partner, because again, you're the designer, so I'm not sure what, but you leverage that partnership.
And just, I don't know if you all heard Renee's story, but you know, all of this passion comes from her dealing with the grief of losing her child. So I don't want to encourage her to stray too far from the heart that is behind what motivated you to do this, Renee. But I do think it would be a fun idea. Oh, of course, sweetie, I'll never forget that where this comes from.
Oh, thank you, Laura. That means a lot, you know.
Thank you, honey. Sorry, I said honey. It's a bad habit of mine. I'm overly affectionate.
I get called dear, sweetie, you know, so no worries.
I know, but it can be so patronizing, so I apologize. But if you have a palette, and you said you like pink, like I would recommend exploring some Hawaiian patterns, but in your color palette. So it could still definitely be a Renee bag. But then that might be something that one of the fashion people might want to use your textile, and then you collaborate. They make the dress, you've got the bag. So
I like that idea. I like how Jenna mentioned about having certain collections at certain points in time. You know, it's not necessarily having to have it all the time. But yeah, I'd like to have something Hawaiian eventually, and I think that's a great idea to have it in my colorways, and that way, you know, it's just unique. It's not like someone else's design.
I was kind of thinking too, first of all, I'm really, really sorry about your loss. And
that's no, it's okay. This is years ago, but you know,
but that's really nice. You're doing something special to like, you know, remember and stuff like that. And I think too, like a lot of you know, new mothers, whether, you know, their baby's in the NICU or, you know, whatever the situation may be. I think one thing too, like if you want to tell people why you made your brand, another way you could market it maybe is, you know, people could give like baby gifts or support gifts, like, and use your bag to put in like a different, you know, like basically a care package for new moms, you know, with all types of, you know, any type of like diapers or anything like that. And, you know, you can say that your company stemmed from, you know, having this love for a child, and you, that's a good way to kind of push that message and having like your bag as the thing that's, or, you know, giving all these care tools to new moms and things like that too.
Gosh,
can
I need
that
I need my own marketing team. Marketing, branding on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, you can
Keep
even
me
like
on
on your
track.
eventual website, maybe like, I think it would be a good idea to market it to that way as like a baby shower gift or something like that. And even on your website, you could maybe have an option to buy the bag on itself, or like for an additional fee, you could make it a package with like diapers and all these new things. And that way they could send it directly to the person for like a baby shower or something like that too.
Speaking as a mom,
Wow,
I would have also
that's
loved
amazing.
gifts that have nothing to do with the darn baby. You know what I mean? Like my 9th month of my pregnancy, I bought myself purple suede high heels because I was so, you know what I mean? I needed to feel like glamorous again. So, a brand new mom could also be getting some of Joelle's skin creams, or, a great shade of lipstick or something. So it could be
Yeah,
anything, not just baby
I could
related.
probably collab with Joelle as well.
Yeah.
I have a handbag. Oh, how about this? You can buy some skincare to put in that, or
Yeah.
gift card.
With Aloha from Hawaii.
Thank you. Thanks, ladies. That's
Sure.
really a lot of encouragement and insight. I appreciate it. And it's just so much, I mean, technology is just so advanced now. It's like, okay, you know what you want. It's just how do you get it? How do you get content out there that you want to get? I mean, you're gonna need your web designer, right? You're gonna need, like, I'm gonna need you, Laura, for the branding aspect, just to keep me on track, and just to know that, okay, these are the things that I need to do to start,
To all of you,
yeah.
definitely take advantage of those one-on-ones. Honestly, the classes are great. There's so much information that you can digest for the rest of your life. But these one-on-ones, like, to me, it's worth the price of the classes just to have those consultations, because these are people that get a lot of money. And sometimes I've seen some people waste that hour just chatting, or you can see that they're not invested in going to the depth of commitment that some of you are. So before you have your one-on-ones, like, go in there thinking about what that person is bringing to the table, and have very specific questions, and like drain their brain for that hour and take full advantage of them. Some people don't even show up, and I don't get it. It's like, you're getting professionals to give you information, not to a whole class, but to you. And like, although we did a little bit of that today. So make sure you take advantage of the one-on-ones. Well, does anybody else have any other questions, or should we can stop a few minutes early? Oh, you're muted, babe. Okay, you're okay. All right, Olivia, anything you want to add?
Nothing in particular, but just wanted to remind people that who you should have gotten an invite for the next if you signed up for the respective course for on Thursday, the 28th from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. And this will be going over the user interface and user experience. So yeah, that's the next class for the cohort, if you signed up for the respective module. But yeah, that's all I have.
Great, thank you, Olivia. Thank you, everybody. I hope you learned something today, and I hope we were able to help each other. Jenna, you're in the wrong business. But they're very lucky to have you marketing for them.
Thank you.
You're probably like me, like, I fall asleep with ideas, I wake up with ideas. It's like never ending ideas.
Sometimes I get like dreams, ideas in my dreams, and I wake up, I'm like, oh my God, my brain is like always thinking about work. It's so annoying.
I designed logos in my sleep.
I know, it's so weird.
But then sometimes I use them in real life, and people are like, where'd you come up with that idea? I'm like, I literally dreamt it. Okay, everybody, we'll see you on Thursday.
Thank
Mahalo.
Mahalo.
Ahui ho.